Welcome to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
Here's the pitch. Salvi drills it high in the air, deep left field. No doubt about it. It's a home run. A game-tying blast from the Royals captain.
Runner goes, pitch is swung on. A high fly ball to right field. This one is gonna fly. A 3-run home run. Kerry Carpenter. The Tigers up 3-0 as Carpenter, an emphatic, towering fly ball home run into the bleachers in right field. What a moment.
There's a shotgun snap, the backhand up, the quick throw at the goal line. It's deflected and it's intercepted on the play by Saunders. He runs the big man, the 10, near sideline 20, on the near sideline 30. Got a blocking from behind. The former Chief is taken down. The Saints big man got it on the ricochet at the goal line on a pass intended for Smith-Schuster. That was a thick pick. That was a thick pick.
It's an old Frank Beamer, Virginia Tech, where they used to rush the punt. They leave the corners off at 9 yards and just stood there and they watched. These guys are doing it at 5 yards, and they're as well coached a team. I mean, I'm in no way saying that. I'm just saying, like, not many people have a punter with an arm like ours does. I mean, he can throw, and so a lot of people wouldn't throw a 22-yard honey hole shot, right? Like, that's hard to do. But thankfully, Rasheed's probably got one of the better arms on the team. To be quite honest, he's really good at this stuff.
Good morning. Welcome into Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. DB will be joining me here shortly as he just helping out with some kiddo drop-off this morning. So he'll be here in just a little bit. Got to do the dad thing, which I certainly don't understand without kids of my own, but appreciate that it's important for the people that do. On the show today, we've got a pretty full lineup for you. We're going to start off at 8:30 with Rasheed Newo, goalkeeper for Union Omaha, as their season is winding down. They've been doing great in USL League One this season. They've got another match coming up on Saturday here at home. So we'll talk to Rashid at 8:30. At 8:45, we'll talk to Scott Doerman of The Athletic. He's covering Iowa football. Get a little feel for that, for kind of what the season's held so far for Iowa, coming off that loss to Ohio State. We'll stick with The Athletic at 9 and talk to Mitch Sherman, see how he's feeling about Nebraska. Then we'll wrap up the show with Steve Jones, play-by-play voice for Penn State football, as they've got a big one this weekend as well. But before we get too far, Shane, how you doing this morning, bud?
I couldn't be better.
Couldn't be better?
Yeah, it's a great day.
It is a great day.
Let's go, baby.
We're going to have, as long as DB doesn't bring up that guy again, we're going to have a good day this morning. And if you're a Kansas City fan of any kind, really, you're probably having a pretty good day this morning as well. Royals tie up that series with the Yankees. And I got to say, I do find myself rooting for the Royals despite not having any particular allegiance to them. They're playing the Yankees, so, nobody ever needs to root for the Yankees. But also, there are a lot of people in my life who are Royals fans. And I do find that I appreciate when they're happy because their baseball team is good. And maybe it's because they're, it's only about once every decade, and I'm not trying to be mean there. It's just kind of how the timing works out. But I don't know what it is. The Royals are very likable. Maybe it's growing up watching the old Omaha Royals at Rosenblatt Stadium. But really enjoy when the Royals do well, and if they can do it at the Yankees' expense, all the better. I'll never be mad about the Yankees fans suffering, except for my guy Matt DeMarinis. We still love Matty, even though he's a Yankees fan. And then you've got also the Kansas City Chiefs getting a big win last night against the Saints. Derek Carr gets injured as well. That was I think that's a game that I thought was really interesting because you heard the broadcast say it last night that the score didn't necessarily reflect the domination that Kansas City had throughout the game. I mean, that was a thorough and utter beating, I thought. And I'm glad they said that, because I kind of feel that way with some of the games Nebraska's played so far this year. And I know, we're talking apples and oranges here with NFL and college, but I do think it's important that we realize that this coaching staff, Matt Rule and his coaching staff, kind of have started to strive for an NFL mindset with this football program. They've talked about it a bunch of times, and not just because of his NFL experience, but also because of the way college football has kind of shifted. You've got, he's brought up the longer season if you're playing for a championship a bunch of times. He's brought up kind of the 3 time zone nature of the Big Ten, which is the only college conference that really has that. And it's a very NFL type of conference to play in the Big Ten. And I think some of Nebraska's results this year have reflected that mindset. And I know that it's been, I guess frustrating is the word I would use for some Nebraska fans. We talked yesterday about, how we haven't always loved the way it looked, and Nebraska has been frustrating to some because of the way, they'll score a bunch in one half and not in the next half. And it gets, Nebraska fans want to see their team absolutely dominate their opponent. And I get that. I would argue in some of these games, Nebraska has absolutely dominated their opponents, and the scoreboard just kind of reflected what it reflected. I mean, you can't sit here and tell me that you don't think Nebraska beat the life out of Colorado. Everybody saw that. But because it ends up only being an 18-point game, we feel like, man, they probably should have got to 40. Maybe. I also think we kind of have to recalibrate what some of these college scores mean. First of all, it looks like Colorado might be a lot better than we thought they were. We'll see this week as they play Kansas State. But it also feels a little bit like a lot of other coaches in college have sort of taken on an NFL mindset as well. And like, hey, and I know this bothers some people, but you don't have to go undefeated anymore. Even the playoff structure is now more NFL like. You're going to get opportunities even if you lose a game. And I think you're starting to see coaches, teams, programs sort of start to play the long game a little bit more with how they operate. And yes, they're trying to win every single game. But I also think they keep in mind, hey, this is a really long season. One loss doesn't eliminate our dreams the way it used to, at least in the Big Two conferences, right? You live in some other leagues, you live in different neighborhoods, you're going to have different HOA rules, right? The Big Ten HOA rules say, hey, you could lose 2, maybe 3 games and still have a chance to win or make it to the playoff and win a national title. Same thing in the SEC. Big 12 and ACC, you better not lose more than 1 if you want to have a pretty good shot of making it in there. And if you're in any other league, you better go undefeated. Those are the rules that people play by now. But the Big Ten and SEC are much more of an NFL style game, and I think Nebraska is playing that. Here's just some quick stats from KC New Orleans last night. 460 yards for Kansas City, 220 for New Orleans. 28 first downs for Kansas City, 14 for New Orleans. Almost 40 minutes, 4 seconds shy of 40 minutes time of possession for Kansas City, 20 for New Orleans. That looks a lot like what we've seen Nebraska do to a bunch of teams this year. That looks a lot like an NFL ass whooping.
You talking to me?
I'm talking to anybody who will listen.
Are you talking to me?
All right, Joe Pesci.
I'm sorry.
No,
Are you talking to me?
I'm just talking about, because I'm sure, you watched that Kansas City game last night. Kansas City beat them up pretty good.
Yeah.
Kansas City, you have any doubt Kansas City was going to win that game?
No. No. But here's the funny thing about that. I'm telling you, for all the high flying and aerial and arm slots and Mahomes, his scrambling,
it's killer.
Has to be the most demoralizing thing
100%.
ever, because he scrambles for a first down. He did it. a handful of times last night.
Especially the one where he kind of like jukes the guy at the line of scrimmage.
How about with the little dead leg
around him?
And I'm like, hey, you guys, this one's a wrap. Because he doesn't even have to play to his strengths to beat you.
Yes.
He can just he can go to like plan C.
And his plan C is still better than you.
100%.
That's
he's incredible.
Yeah.
He's the only guy that I see when he plays the game. It's like he's a cheat code.
Yes, 100%. Because you think you did it. You think you got it. I got coverage. I got pressure.
Are we?
He doesn't have anywhere to throw.
Are we gonna act like Juju Smith-Schuster wasn't left for dead?
We're gonna pretend like he's good now. Because he's not.
It's incredible.
He's not. He's just got Patrick Mahomes now.
Yeah.
But we're not going to pretend like Kareem Hunt didn't just get cut.
He's 3 years removed from his best. Juju Smith-Schuster is 3 years removed from his best season.
Yeah. What happens when you're 3 years removed from your best season in the NFL usually?
Yeah.
You don't have a job anymore.
That's Devontae Adams.
You don't have a job anymore.
Still hanging on.
Still hanging out.
I'm just playing.
Faking hamstring injuries.
Yeah, what a debacle. But I got to ease up on Vegas because they have the Steelers. So
yeah,
we're gonna keep all the pot shots to a minimum.
You gotta convince yourselves that Vegas is good now.
No. I don't even know who's gonna play quarterback for them. Maybe Shane.
I don't know.
Shane, are you gonna play quarterback?
I could.
I actually don't think you could.
Absolute free booty. Let's go, baby.
If they all stay in their 3-point stance, I'm good.
Shane,
But when they stand up, I ain't going to be able to see over them.
I was going to say, I don't know if you can see over them, bud. I don't know what's happening there.
Whoa.
Easy.
I pulled a solder.
Easy.
Oh, and then you got to be able to say, it wasn't me. I'm not going to lie. I kind of like this camera better, even though I can't figure it out. Shane, I'll probably need you for this because I'm not really in the
DB. I don't like these cameras.
You don't?
I don't. No.
Oh, I do.
I like the one shot, that we get with the other one.
This is incredible.
No, you just like it.
Hi, me.
You just like it because you can freeze up your camera.
And it's far. It's like I like the angle.
I mean, we could try. We can do the other one higher. We can do it from a higher angle.
Yeah, get that thing.
There's more legs on
over there where they serve food. Put that thing way over there.
You realize this is closer than the other camera, right?
Yeah, but I like the way that it looks like it's further away on here.
I mean, I can zoom out for you if you want.
Well, get your zoom out game right.
Get your zoom game right.
Yeah. Yeah. How are they partying in Kansas City?
I think they're having a good night.
Yeah. So we're gonna go back to the Yankees real quick.
Yeah.
Remember when I said that's the one team in the playoffs where if they won it, I wouldn't be surprised.
They got bounced.
If they got bounced in their opening round, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
I'm not sure when they've looked like the better team.
In this series?
Yeah.
They haven't yet.
They haven't.
No. I know they got the first one, but they didn't. I didn't think they looked like.
And here's the crazy thing: Bobby Witt Jr. is stinking up the joint,
Yeah.
and they're still winning.
If he starts to mash a little bit, then they're in business.
I don't know. I think we jinxed him with the good start to the postseason. I was like, no problem for him.
I don't know. It's just baseball.
Oh, it's hard.
I mean, like that's what I get. I try not to put unless it goes on for a long time. I try not to.
It's just a brutal sport.
It is, and it's the sample sizes are so strange.
Oh, would you go to a game at San Diego tonight?
Would I? No. If you're a Dodgers fan,
yeah,
absolutely not.
I wouldn't go either.
I'm not a.
I've been to Chavez. I've never been to San Diego.
I would go to a game in San Diego in general, but not as a Dodgers fan during the playoffs.
Yeah.
Like it seems like San Diego seems like a nice place to hang out.
This is the only time I'm not really going to be super mad at Machado, even though he's taking shots at Roberts, because sometimes I take shots at Roberts.
Yeah.
But I feel like that's like family. You get to talk about your brother and sister, right? I don't.
Yeah. It's like, hey man, what are you saying?
Yeah. Even though I do agree with you sometimes, Manny, about what you said about Roberts. No, I'm just playing.
If one of the Padre players threw you a ball as a Dodger fan, would you throw back? Because I mean, I saw that.
No, I'm keeping that
the other day.
I'm keeping that. And it's funny because I brought up Profar a couple weeks ago.
Yeah. He did his little thing the other day.
Man, listen. That one.
I didn't even really understand what he was doing.
Just being him.
Just trolling.
Yeah, because he robbed the home run.
No, it was great. I mean, it was a great play.
Sold it like it's just, baseball has all those unwritten rules, but it didn't really bother me.
It didn't bother me either. I didn't really understand why it turned into this whole thing.
Oh, well,
I mean, they just don't like each other to start. So that's
I mean, it's pretty.
You like rev high to start, so any little thing kind of sets you off. But
I mean, this isn't like Wings Avalanche, but I mean, there's some really, really, really strong disdain.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just hoping when the bench is clear tonight that nobody throws a punch for a suspension. Because what? I said that the other day. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
It's definitely going to happen. The minute Ohtani launches one off King,
yeah,
it's going to happen.
He's gotta slow trot that thing a little bit, really get the gases going.
Yeah. I don't know, man.
I almost said something else, but I don't know if you're allowed to say that anymore.
I think you should be able to say anything you want, Ravi, just once.
Well, I don't. You know how?
Can you imagine?
What did you guys call it when you like kind of took a long time to get out of the box and like? Because there was a word we used, but
I would always say Cadillac, but
we would always say you're pimping your home run.
Oh yeah, I've heard that.
Yeah.
That's kind of like, are you old? That's my age.
I am old.
Yeah, we'd say that.
Yeah, that's because that's what we would just say is, oh, he's pimping his home run.
Yeah,
I am old. I didn't know if you're allowed to say pimping anymore. Like I don't know.
It's just is. I think the answer is yes. I shouldn't even ask it. I was going to say, does that have negative connotation? I think it does.
I mean, it has to do with sex work.
Pimping.
So I think originally, so I just don't know how people feel about that these days.
Well, pretty sure it's still frowned upon, Ravi.
It depends on what state you're in.
Depends on what state you're in. I don't think the sentiment has changed. I don't know, Shane. Look that up on Urban Dictionary and see if that's okay. Make sure you use your work computer.
I'm on it.
RP, the contrarian, of course. I still don't know why we're friends. Although he did walk me to my car like I was 4 the other day.
Yeah?
Yeah. It's like, hey, you want to walk me to my car?
I mean,
it's kind of weird. But he waited for Caleb, so it was cool.
It's also, was that at the game?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
He asked me if I wanted to go see Caleb. I was like, I'm going to sit here.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing.
And then you guys came over anyway.
Apparently, Stace runs the show because they were getting ready to go. I think he thought he was going home.
Yeah.
You know, because, I mean, it's just foolishness out there. A bunch of hooligans.
Yeah.
I don't understand. He was trying to break it down for me walking back to my car. I'm like, I don't get it. And he just deadpan straight face. It's dark, but I could still see him because he was, never mind. Because
his complexion stands out a little bit more.
Knock it off. He's like, what else are they going to do? And I was like, yeah, I suppose.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah.
I know what I would be doing. I'd be going home to watch television.
Yeah. That's generally what you're going home to do, though.
Yeah.
It's like, I go watch some games. More games to watch.
Yeah, well.
Always more games or film. One or the other.
Well, apparently with my boost in testosterone, I won't be sitting down much longer. Might be up and active.
You can be like jogging on the treadmill while you're watching games.
Bro, that was scary.
Which part?
Well, I told my buddy the number.
Dude, mine was lower than yours.
OMGZ.
Yeah. That's what. So when you asked when I'm old, I was like, yeah, I am old.
Wait a second.
Yeah. Wow. Like a lot lower than yours.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Does that make you feel better?
No. I'm the only guy that probably cheered leaving the place.
Oh, I was thrilled. I was
like,
pumped.
I was like, let's go.
I mean, I was hoping it was a little higher than that, but still treatable.
Listen, so my man Jason, he runs nutrition spot.
Yeah.
So we talk. That was kind of my sounding board. And I told him to guess.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Whoa, how do you do what you do?" I go, "I don't know, but I think that must be why when I shut it down, I shut it down.
Like hard."
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like a hard reset.
Yeah. Like I could not talk to. Like I could go forever without saying anything to anyone.
I know. Yeah.
I really could.
No, I know.
You know, it's like I don't know. Well, we'll talk about that later. But
yeah, we were over at Game Day Men's Health yesterday. And
did you think you were gonna get stuck twice?
What did you get? I only got stuck once. For what? The actual shot?
No, like the blood draw.
She did that, then the finger, right?
Yeah.
Oh, that's not big. The finger's not even a big deal.
She said, "Roll your sleeve up." I was like, "Huh?
Yeah.
You want the big one?"
I will say,
it's not the result that I'm looking for.
I have terrible veins.
I do not.
First shot, no problem. Just bam. And she goes, "Damn, I'm good."
Yeah. She was really feeling herself.
She was cool.
I was like, I was like, hey, I mean, I'm not like bragging, but I said I have really good veins because she's like, I need a tourniquet. I was like, what? We removing something? Is there femoral damage? But she had jokes.
Yeah, she did. Yeah, she was funny.
And she goes, you're not bleeding. I said, you're not sticking me again. She said, honey, I didn't miss. Don't worry. I was like, wow. That's what we're on.
I told her she was like the.
She didn't get any of my jokes either, which I was pretty mad about.
I told her she was like that Snoop meme or that Snoop gif where she's like, that MFer don't miss.
Yeah. She was a trip.
It was a good time though. We'll tell you guys more about it. We shot a little video out there, but it was it's a pretty cool spot.
Yeah, I must say.
Did you know some of those guys before?
Oh yeah.
You knew Chris, the big guy?
And Ryan. Yeah.
Did you?
Yeah, I've talked about Hurrdat on the show before.
Oh, really?
Yeah. That he was an incredible athlete.
Really?
I'm telling you, the dude could hit a ball about 450 feet.
Yeah, that's what you were saying.
Like
he's a big dude.
Yeah, he used to be bigger. And he was one of those guys that would do like the little taper with the long hair, kind of like the mullet.
Yeah.
Or he'd, have the spike. I mean, he's out there.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, he was Bryce Harper before Bryce Harper.
He's like a classic 80s, 90s ball player.
Yeah, I'm telling you. So, Nick Sailors?
Yeah.
They used to play together.
Oh, okay. Noah's dad?
And and those two.
Could mash.
Well, there's about 6 of them, but yeah. I mean, just flat out outrageous. Like, yeah, they probably need to change these bats up a little bit. Feeling a little hot.
I was like, because that was pre-regulation era, right?
Yeah.
Those things were coming in hot.
So going back to the because I think this started with the Royals, right?
I think so.
They look like the better team.
Yeah, I think so.
And they have better I
think they do have better arms.
Yeah, this
I'm a big Cole Reagans guy. Do you remember at the start of the season?
I know. But I felt like and it was easier to ride with Singer. Mm-hmm. But I was joking about their 1-2. This was so long ago. Mm-hmm. I'm like, oh, the Royals riding the wave. And then when they got to be about, they're probably like, I don't know, 35 and 26 or something. I was like, I think they're pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think this is actually a good baseball
good ball club.
Yeah. I mean, they don't have the Lion or the Tigers lineup.
No, they could use a little bit more pop in that lineup.
So Benny Mac's a huge baseball fan.
Although getting Salvi to actually do something, that's a big boost.
He for all intents, he looks like a big dude.
Oh, he is. I mean, I don't know I'm going to look him up.
To imagine that guy still getting in any sort of a stance.
Yeah, he looks like a tight end.
Makes me hurt.
Like he looks like Gronk.
One of the 54 that the Chiefs used last night.
Yeah, I just love we got number 12 out there. What's going on?
Yeah, Chiefs come out here at 17 personnel. I mean, they're signing big tight ends to play out there.
You know who I love?
Who?
Noah Gray, type 1 diabetic. That's my guy.
Oh, so do you get a list? Hey, can I have that baseball?
I don't have like an active list, but I do like keep track. Jamie Hicks, the pitcher, he's one.
Yeah.
Back in the day, Matt Clement was a type 1 diabetic.
Back in the day.
Back in the day. Mark Andrews, type 1 diabetic.
Yeah.
I don't have like a complete list, but I do keep track.
Did you watch Tigers Guardians?
Not much of it.
I wanted to talk to Schaefer today. It's a shame. I had to get back to him. I wonder if he would have pitched to Carpenter.
I don't know. That's CB. I'm Ravi. We'll be back with more Hurrdat Sports Radio coming up next.
We will be back. 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 You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
Digging in against this number one red zone defense, given off to Kareem Hunt, following his blockers, he's into the end zone. Touchdown, Kansas City. The middle again blown wide open, and the Chiefs score on their first offensive drive of the game.
Welcome back to Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. That's DB. I'm Ravi, Lulla. You can listen to us streaming live, like I know our friend Ian, his daughter Scarlett, like to do when they're getting ready for school.
Oh, that's a cool name.
Ian or Scarlett?
Scarlett.
Scarlett is a cool name. You know what else is cool?
What?
She plays volleyball for Holy Ghost. They're undefeated.
Oh, shout out HG.
So my buddy that I told you I had lunch with on Friday.
Oh, yeah,
and his daughter brought the dog out for me to see.
And you're like, oh, I saw my dog too.
What
kind of dog?
It is a boxer bulldog mix.
Oh, I bet it's pretty.
Oh, Bowie.
I would rock that.
Gorgeous.
I would definitely rock that.
And the sweetest dog.
Because I like both those breeds.
So
is it just like a smaller boxer?
Yeah, it's
it's
not as pronounced of the muzzle,
square face,
but the sweetest. I just like probably 40 pounds.
Hey, by the way, how come you didn't dap me up knowing that I talked to the old
I did. I gave you
police
your congrats on the Twitter machine.
No,
I was
man,
proud
but
of
I
you.
saw you. I come to see where you're sitting.
Yeah.
You could have been like, hey, man, shout out
That's
you.
my bad. Next time I'll come, I'll do the bro hug. That's my bad.
Hey, and
I was proud of you for talking to the dog, though.
Her trainer.
Yeah.
He's
handler.
He's yoked.
Yeah.
He's a little guy, but
he's like
Yeah.
stacked up.
I'm like, dang, are those your pecs or is that your vest? No, he was yoked.
He's like, I'm not wearing a vest.
Yeah, he might not have been. Real talk. But so anyway, I saw them right as they were coming around from gate 18, like where my studios were, right next to the complex. So they're coming around the corner, and I'm like, I saw them from probably, as far as I could see, so
10, 12 feet away.
it's probably about 20 yards. I'm like, yeah, I'm super competitive. This is how exactly I went. Just do it. Go talk to him. Just do it. Nah, he doesn't want to talk to you. Will he take his sunglasses off? What's he look like behind there? He's probably like, man, who is this? Nah, but the dog is so cool. Talk to him. Talk to him. I got to about 4 feet. I was like, hey, this is going to sound. And I was like, hey, this.
You sound like a little kid.
Yeah. I was like, hey, this.
Cap at that dog.
Manless. It's exactly what I thought of. So I was like, hey, this is going to sound weird, but can I pet your dog? He's like, yeah, man, what's up? So I just kind of gave the backstory, and he's laughing to himself. And he's like, oh, you got both shows? And that, like, it was cool.
Yeah.
So he was telling me that I caught her at a good time because she had just gone on her rounds, and she was a little tired.
Yeah.
But she loves attention.
Yeah.
I was like, and I so bad. I was like, I would like to take you home. How many years of service do you have left here, little dog?
Right? Because they retire them at some point, and then they're free. Usually a lot of times they end up with their handler, though.
Listen, she shook.
Yeah?
Oh, yeah,
Gave
you didn't see it.
handshake.
I didn't pick her paw up. She gave it to me. I was like, what's up, little lady? How we doing?
Dude, I am such, like, you know how I don't even know what to compare it to, but like I'll just be driving down the street and I'll be like, oh, look at that dog. Oh, look at that dog.
I want to see like the boxer, that breed of dog.
Ian, I know you're listening still. When you drop Scarlett off, send me a picture of Bowie for DB.
Bowie,
yeah.
Like David?
Yeah. He's a music guy. He's a music producer.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's odd. David Bowie, huh?
Yeah. The coolest dog.
Now, I don't know, man.
She's cool, man.
I don't know.
Although the German Shepherd at the stadium did look cool. And I love German Shepherds. I got a German Shepherd mix.
Buddha's a G.
I do. Buddha's great. I love your dogs, too. I wouldn't go hang out with them if I didn't.
Now, Biggie's getting a little old, but Buddha's...
I have a soft spot for the senior dogs, though.
Yeah,
those are my guys.
Buddha's a little G.
But,
did you see Sharpie at the Chiefs game last night?
No, I didn't see him down there.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
A little recognition.
Yeah?
Oh, yeah. He's a Chiefs guy. Chiefs, baby, Chiefs.
Well, I mean, that makes sense,
Oh, yeah, with his roots?
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, it's a lot of people around here are Chiefs fans, so I get it. But, yeah, he's got the Kansas roots. And
by the way, did you see the
different than the Nappy roots? That's a different thing.
That's a great band.
Yeah.
Good pull.
Thank you.
People that look like me, as kind of as a cut down, when we would like play the dozens and stuff, we would say nappy.
Yeah.
And it was not fake.
Yeah, I know
it's not
it's
not positive.
It's not a nice term.
It wasn't a term of endearment.
Yeah.
Why is your hair so nappy? But anyway, did you see I'm so sick of this Bronny. I don't even want to look at the television.
Man, you're gonna have a great NBA season, bud. Good news is he got me in the G League after like 3 games.
Here's the. I've already. This is what
like know how that's gonna go.
What do you call it? Tail tucking. Richard Tucker.
Yeah, just Richard Tucker, my good friend from high school.
This is what
Richard
I've
Tucker.
resigned myself to.
Yeah.
Although Nebraska's going to hold up their end of it, so I'm cool with them.
Mm-hmm.
The Steelers are going to inevitably flame out when their schedule gets really tough in December.
And when they inevitably say
they don't have a quarterback.
And when they inevitably say, let's go with Russell.
The Lakers are going to be fatigued because I'm going to have to listen to these manufactured storylines.
I also just don't know how good they are. Yeah. Like, I'm not trying to be a jerk. I don't know how good they are.
And now this PED thing and LeBron and Chael Sonnen is like, getting on my nerves. And the Dodgers are probably lose a series to the Padres.
You're very fatalist with the Dodgers.
I just don't trust them.
That's fair. I get it.
They're so bad fundamentally.
Yeah.
Now, this isn't the team that could get them. I
mean,
like
they could.
playing that way, though.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, Padres just going to leave the yard.
Right. Yeah.
Like
Because
they-
they're smashing.
They rake.
Yeah.
But
you go play, like, if for whatever reason,
So I'll be waiting on the Pens.
if they were going
in
to
Crosby's
play
twilight.
the Royals in the World Series or something, like the Royals.
Dodgers Royals would be amazing.
That'd be a great World Series.
It'd be amazing.
Like different styles.
And you know what?
of
For
teams.
whatever the reason, even though this is different than KC,
Mhm.
KC gets under my skin.
Chiefs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They get under my skin because they're everywhere.
Mhm.
It's not their fan base.
Yeah, which is what a lot of people's gripe is.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not the fans are fine. Like they're fine. And I actually like Mahomes.
I do too. I love Mahomes. He's great.
But the KC thing for the Royals,
Mhm.
they don't bother me at all. Like it's a fairly likable team.
I actively, when the Royals make it to this point, I actively root for them to do it.
I'm not gonna go that far.
I do. I mean,
don't
when the
go
Red
that
Sox
far.
aren't in it,
They're not the Minnesota Vikings.
they ain't got no Sam Darnold. No,
I like Brian Flores too.
I do too. I feel like he got a raw deal in Miami.
Yeah.
And I like that he's doing well now,
And
especially with Tua just like sniping
Hey,
him over
and-
the offseason.
And that defense brings it.
Well,
By
you
the-
got Harrison Phillips up there too.
By
Omaha
the
connection.
way, how physical low key was the Saints Chiefs game last night?
Yeah.
I mean, there was some pads
Well, this is what
cracking.
I was talking about when you were coming in. Was that looked like how Nebraska's played this year?
With regard
To like the
the
physicality
slow bleed.
and dominating and the slow bleed, and the score's not going to reflect how much
Yeah.
they beat you.
You know the weird thing about that, and I'm so like he told us that's how they want to play.
He keeps telling us. He keeps telling
So
us
like
that's how
I
they're gonna play.
I don't get it.
What did I can't remember if I said this on or off here yesterday, but I've said it several times. From the start of the second half.
From this moment.
Yep. From the start of the second half, I was trying to think of the next line. I couldn't come up with it. From the start of the second half, I said to people, and then I said to you after, it felt like Rule looked at this game and goes, Rutgers isn't scoring 14 without our help.
Yeah, you said that to me.
Like not scoring 14 without our help.
Yeah.
Why would we help them?
Oh.
This game is over if we execute.
I had a really good in-depth talk with somebody kind of close to that program about like play calling, and I like some weird, right?
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorite things to do is to watch film and then pit it against the stats, because I like to get inside that stuff. That's why, the best time of the week for me is like Huddle Exchange on Saturday mornings.
Yeah,
because
what
am I always watching it here?
Always during breaks, you're like,
I
got 3 minutes for Huddle.
I like that kind of stuff because I want to see if I can figure out how other teams are thinking.
I want to,
and I like the fact that, like, I think I know what Sat was doing, and I'm not going to go as far as to say he was protecting Dylan, but he knew he wasn't playing well.
Yeah, so he was not going to put him in positions where it was going to be worse.
Not with the way that defense was playing.
Absolutely not. There's
And
no
we were mad at that. I'm like,
let me tell you something, okay? I think a lot of people define good play calling as calling plays to score points. They're calling plays to win games.
No.
There's a difference.
I might steal that. Is that a T-shirt?
Lance, hold on. We'll get to you as soon as we come back from the break here on Hurrdat Sports Radio.
We will be back. We'll be back. You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
The first one, I'll say who it was. I usually won't say who it was, but I'll say, just blocked the wrong guy. I say that because I don't think anyone here would question his determination. It's not any of those things. It's, they brought the gunner in. He just missed it, right? And then they had a couple long runs. He came over to me. He's like, I got it. I messed up. I got it. And the second one, the personal protector just didn't make the block. So, they challenged you in every regard.
Wrapping up hour number 1 here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590 ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla here on the Pillar Exterior stage. We've already set the lineup for the show today, but we've got a little bit of time. If you want to give us a call, 888-638-4876.
Apparently there's a lot of Royals fans out here.
Just like our guy Lance did here on the Hurrdat Hotline. Lance, what's going on?
Hey, guys. I really like the topic of this NFL style, because I think that's the first step, I think, is sort of accepting what you are.
Yep.
And so when we start talking about playing the NFL style, we have to start accepting that we're just not a great second half scoring team outside the top 100, right? But then we can go to our 5th grade, let's create a hypothesis, which is we're not scoring in the second half because we want to play like the NFL, which means we're going to probably turn out first downs and yards and take the air out of the ball, which I'm a 100% advocate of playing football that way. Is you get the ball in the second half, you take the air out of the ball, you do it. So then I go and
they're not trying to score, though. They're just you know what I mean.
I agree with that. I told you on Saturday, and I even responded to Ravi in a text when he said that was in his bag. He called a heck of a game, and I thought it was their most complete game going probably about midway through that third quarter. But then I can go and look at the stats, and then I can be like, well, if I go look at second half time of possession, we should be just taking the air out of the ball. Well, that's not the case. So I think the way I'm looking at things is I think on offense, you probably still don't have the personnel that you need to do what you want, because the last 3 games, our time of possession share in the second half is like 44%, which means we're not doing a great job of wanting to play that way, even though I think that's the way they should play. I'm just hoping our margin of error is really, really thin here because of where we're at on offense and where we're at on special teams. Like,
let me
defense can't have
how many? So listen to me here, Lance. Let me get you inside the numbers. So I like talking to you sometimes. So Rutgers had the ball for 8 minutes and 17 seconds. Nebraska had the ball for 6 minutes and 43 seconds in the third quarter. That's not substantial, but it is greater time of possession for Rutgers, correct?
Yep.
How many more plays did Rutgers run in the third quarter than Nebraska?
Ooh. How many more plays?
Yep. Almost a minute and 40 seconds more.
I would say because they had the wind. Well, it's a little difficult because I'm looking at it in terms of like, hey,
I get it. Are they taking their shots at the clocks? Is the clock stopping? Yep. I like.
I'm going to say in that third quarter, they ran Manangai more than they did in the second quarter.
Yep, he had 6 carries.
Play-wise, they're pretty close in terms of a number of plays.
Rutgers ran one more play than Nebraska in the third quarter. So I say that to say, when you look at time of possession, so if you do that twice, right, then all of a sudden Rutgers has had the ball 16 minutes and 30 seconds in the second half. That looks like quite an advantage. But if you're only running one more play, it's not really like that. So sometimes you, and I only say that to say, sometimes you have to get inside the numbers.
I will say, Lance, though,
Absolutely.
I do agree with.
Now, in the fourth quarter, they ran 8 more plays.
Right.
But they're also trying to come back.
Right. And they're
in that
passing a lot more. And
Yeah. I mean, so
the only time
time of possession is weird.
Yeah, the only time I was mad on Saturday in the game was in that fourth quarter. We get the ball, I think, with like 11 minutes left. And I think we just have a really short
I thought he was going to say
a
different
really
word.
short
Yeah, me too.
a really short drive where I'm just like, yo, just
Is
throw
this
like
is this the third quarter?
Touchdowns.
In the start of the fourth, you said.
For like 11 minutes left, I think we get the ball, and it might have been third. But I mean, which is weird to me when I look inside the numbers. Our third quarters are statistically our worst scoring quarter. We're like way bad, and we're really decent in the first half. But of the two, that's skewed a little bit because of Purdue. But just in that, there's these one drives where I look at Colorado, or I look at Rutgers, or I look at there's just opportunities late in the game where I really want them to take the air out of the ball and get like 3 or 4 touchdowns.
It was the first drive in the fourth quarter. They went 3 and out.
Yep, it just doesn't happen
for 4 yards.
It just doesn't happen.
Well, they didn't get a first down in the fourth quarter.
No, but I think that's when Buschini hits that punt where we want to talk about him. Great. There are a couple punts, and I talked about this Friday. They didn't have a lot of experience returning punts. There are a couple punts that returner let hit the ground where it rolled 20, 30 yards after it hit the ground, where I'm thinking, thank God that guy didn't catch that punt. You know, like he just did us a huge favor.
That's football, though. I mean, it's not
yeah.
We talk. It's like we got into this thing with the running game, Lance, and people. I hear this a lot, and I'm not saying I'm Norm Chow or anything, but when people say, "Well, we need more creativity in the run game," what does that even mean, right? Because if we're doing jet sweeps or orbit sweeps or, inside traps or counters
that aren't even technically runs,
like we don't like that because we're not lining up and trying to just tank it at someone.
It's too gimmicky.
That stuff's not going. If there's one thing that I completely agree with, they're not quite where they want to be.
That's what I was going to say.
On that offensive line to play that way, but it's more a mindset. You have to think it first, then you go get the fellas, right? So So when people say, like, I stopped listening, right? Because it's like, well, he utilizes formation, he utilizes personnel. We say he's why not put this player in the game? And then it got into, well, Dowdell had the hot hand. Why didn't he play Dowdell instead of him? And I'm like, misery loves company. I'm not going to be your friend because you can't. It's not always going to be super that's like that myopic stuff that it doesn't work that way.
No, and I think they're plenty creative running the ball. I mean, when you watch what they do when they brought on Heinrich, they fooled one of those inside linebackers on that play. He just let the guy go by him, chasing down Heinrich, and look at the Bonner play. My only thing is when I look at our running game, where I kind of grow concerned is. It's weird is when I watch Dowdell run, I'm like, man, that guy looks like he runs better with the fullback. And then I watch Emmett, and I'm like, that guy runs better with that one. So, but it's hard when your backs, if you really isolate yourself, if you're like, hey, these are the plays for Emmett, these are the plays for Dante. And then, if I were wanting an answer, I would want to, I'm not the, I don't like criticizing players. I go get me a stud running back out of the portal, and I can live with not being great up front as long as I know that I have a guy back there that can be an eraser.
Yeah. All right, my man. Appreciate it, Lance.
So that's what I was going to say is what you ended up touching on there, I agree that they're not at the place where they want to be, where they can just physically dominate people up front yet.
Ravi and Lance here for not liking Nebraska's running backs. It's not just in the running backs thing.
It's not that I don't like their running back. I thought their running backs were fine.
I'm going to punch you right in your soup coolers.
They're fine. You think anybody in that group is better than fine?
I feel like he's feeling some type of way. He's
like,
is there something new there?
I don't know, man.
At what point have we seen consistently out of one of those guys something that indicated they were better than that?
What Manungai show you? What did he show you where you're like, oh man, that's sweet?
He's got more of a track record on it. But I also
no.
On Saturday, nothing.
What is it? You watched him a ton.
Yeah.
You cut up tape practically in your head.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
What did he show you that what you were like, ooh, man, I like that recruiting profile. I want him.
Yeah, no, nothing really.
Yeah, so let me tell you something about evaluating running backs. You don't have to agree with me, but I'm just telling you. There is a thing. Why does Kareem Hunt all of a sudden look rejuvenated?
I'm going to guess he's playing with better players.
Well, yes and no. He understands the schemes in Kansas City.
Okay, yeah, sure.
So the more you do that and the repetitive things that it is, like there are some backs. Why do I love Clinton Portis? I'm glad you asked.
Hey, why do you love Clinton Portis?
I love Clinton Portis because Clinton Portis could play in a zone scheme. Then he could go to Washington and play in that base scheme where it's very anti what Denver did. And he was still a really good back. Sometimes schematics matter. And the more you do it, the better you're going to be. Nebraska's offensive line, it's clearly a feel offense where it's not always going to be clear cut. It's just not. So you need to either do that a long time or you have to recruit that kind of running back.
Sure.
So my point in using Manungai is there aren't any physical attributes with him where you're like,
no,
ooh, Nebraska can't replicate that. It's how he complements their blocking style.
He has a better feel.
So a lot of times that's what it is with running backs, though. That's why there's this weird relationship with running backs and offensive line. It just isn't, hey, go get a better guy.
No, I wasn't saying that.
No, I know, but I'm saying that.
No, I think that they're physically the guys in Nebraska's backfield have all the things you would want.
Yeah,
physically.
Go back and
look at
Coach Satterfield's play designs. Don't tell me that guy's not creative.
I think he's done a great job. You don't
need more creative run game.
I would like to see more Ja'Cory Barney.
We can't run sweeps because it's gimmicky.
Give me some Bonner.
Line up and smash your head into a wall. Or it's not real.
Give me some Bonner too.
We will be back. We will be back. be back. We will be back. You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
Well, I didn't set any goals out. I literally mean that. Like, I just want to be relevant. And so I think at least we're relevant. I still wake up at night upset we lost to Illinois. That's God's honest truth. After we win, I'm happy for 20 minutes, and I'm like, okay, let's get ready for what's next. I'm proud of our players, though. That's the important message. I'm proud of the work. I'm proud of the lack of distractions. I'm proud of the selflessness. I'm proud of the growth. I'm proud of, I'm sad about it, but we lose Teddy, then we lose Turner, and now Gunner's out there and he's battling, right? We lose Tommy, who's, one of the top players in the country, and all of a sudden Sierra's battling. I'm proud of Marquise Buford, like just every week so I'm proud of a lot of those things. As it relates to the second half of the season, it's the same to me as the first. Like after Illinois, I could just feel our team, and I could feel our coaching staff. We have to win this game. We have to win this game. And I just enjoyed this game better where the guys just wanted to play. And so I'm going to do my best to go 1-0 every week. Even the bye week, I'm going to try to be great this week on the bye week. And some of that's rest. Some of that's getting away. Some of that's practicing the heck out of the young guys. But that's really all I look at.
Kicking off hour number 2 here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla here on the Pillar Exterior stage. And a reminder, if you're driving, make sure you're focused, eyes straight ahead, and on the road. As the driver, you have one job. That is to drive. This message from the NDOT Highway Safety Office. Got a couple of...
apparently you can use seat belts.
You got to use a seatbelt.
But you can't show any straps.
Yeah, you can't do that. You get a penalty for that.
Hey, what was the verbiage? That was classic. That was Minnesota.
For brandishing a weapon? I think he said brandishing.
Yeah.
He knows somebody in law enforcement. Only law enforcement use the term brandishing.
Man. damn hip-hop culture.
That was the funniest thing with Fleck is Fleck thought he got in trouble for the sword. And he's like, the whole country, you could read his lips. He goes, the whole country does the sword.
Hey, he lost his
multiple times. Can you imagine if that was rule? He'd have gotten like 6 flags on that. He'd have been a theme park.
Hey, do you think those guys have gum or breath mints? Because if I was an official, you have to have a ton of self-control. Because I'm sure some of these dudes is just like hot garbage.
Yeah. I'd have trouble not hitting a guy if they were like in my face yelling like that.
Guys are pretty cool. That's why, I don't know, man. We give them a hard time, but It takes a certain temperament.
Listen, it's a hard job, and they can definitely
it's a hard knock life.
Do better, but I also don't envy the way some of those coaches act because some of those coaches act like children.
That was Urban Little Orphan Annie, right? Hard Knock Life, the one with.
It's a hard knock life.
The one with
us.
Who's the old boy that Hollywood tried to kill? Jamie Foxx, right? Did you see that one?
I did not see that one.
I think they did a Hard Knock Life in that one.
I'm not sure I've seen any of the Annie.
I just like the song,
TV,
even though I'm out on Jay-Z.
Jamie Foxx guy.
He's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's just trying to stay alive.
I like big Indie Given Sunday fan.
Yeah, it's a good movie.
Yeah.
Steamin'
Willie.
It didn't age as well as I thought, but Pacino still stole the show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's get to a couple of calls here on the Hurrdat hotline. TK wants to talk a little run game.
Of course he does.
I told DB that, you heard us talk about O-line and run game too much. Your spidey sense must have started tingling. What's up?
Good morning, fellas. Sorry, I called in a little late. I was up late watching the best sports in Kansas City last night.
Oh, Lord.
My wife and her intramural soccer team beat down on some undergrads.
Where'd they play?
UMKC. They
really?
have
my coach's
team.
Daughter plays for them. Soccer.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, she was definitely playing a bunch of people who the only time they played soccer was in PE class.
Oh,
they have a bunch of former soccer players, NAIA D2 and D1 against a bunch of 18-year-olds.
Yeah, advantage youth or what?
Yeah, exactly.
What's up?
So, I'm a little peeved at this misnomer that the O-line played terribly on Saturday.
Shocker. Well, talk to me.
Because on my rewatch, seemed like there was a lot of holes opening up in a 9-man box.
No, I mean,
I thought they played well. Honestly, my issue wasn't with the O-line at all. I think that the O-line is not to the point yet where they feel comfortable that they can just blow people off the ball on a consistent basis.
TK here for not slandering the O-line. Get him, TK. Tell him again.
There's a difference there. You know what I mean? I think that there were definitely a bunch of holes that the running backs did not hit.
I completely agree with that sentiment that we're not good enough to blow people off the ball because nobody's really that good. Alabama couldn't blow Vandy off the ball. So, come on.
I don't know. Vandy seemed to be able to move the ball pretty good. 12 of 18 on third downs. That's incredible. That might be the greatest stat of the season so far.
I mean, we're talking about no 3 and outs. We're talking about
zero 3 and outs.
We're talking about like Michigan the last few years. Like that's what
Okay, can I say something about Michigan?
Go ahead.
Now since we're on it. Didn't you feel like the running backs and the blocking style were pretty married?
Yeah.
It didn't matter. Remember when the Michigan slow bled Nebraska and Lincoln a couple years ago?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, every running back looks the same running behind this offensive line.
For sure.
All different body types.
Part of that's development. Part of that is recruiting to your style, too.
Yeah.
And to further that point, what type of game was that on Saturday? What type of runner did we need? We need somebody who was able to cut back and get into lanes that might not be where the play was designed to go to.
Yeah.
What guy usually does that?
It's usually Emmett.
I felt really bad because that's my guy. He just had a bad day, and Emmett Johnson.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. I thought it was an Emmett game going in.
I completely agree.
But he didn't have a good day, which is fine. It happens.
So in his defense, can I just say this, though, in his defense?
Yeah, sure.
I couldn't figure out why when they would go ace, so they were in 12 personnel, right? 2 tight ends, 2 wide receivers. They would motion to get to a 3-by. It's kind of that condensed 3-by. And they would leave that backside corner unblocked. That was the guy that Emmett wasn't making miss.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to figure out, did Nebraska think they were in man, or they felt like their free defender on our runner? Because he's at the line of scrimmage. Because the minute Banks or whomever came into motion, he came and was like the spill guy on the end of the line of scrimmage.
Mm-hmm.
Like it just didn't seem like it was
to do what he does.
Yeah, make the corner tackle
because he's very good at making that guy miss.
Oh yeah. Okay, all right, we're on the same page here. I appreciate you, TK. I will make sure I let Ravi know that He cannot just be slandering this offensive line.
That's not what happened. That's not what happened.
Yeah, big slanderer.
TK, appreciate the call, bud.
Ravi here for slander.
For a lot of things.
Okay,
yes.
That's not what you said.
For a lot of things, yes. I will slander a lot of things and not even worry about it.
Yeah.
But no, that's not. I think people want something out of this O-line that, as TK pointed out, I don't think exists most places anymore, where you just have guys that are just blowing people off the line.
Wait till like Justin Evans gets in like elite level shape.
Well, I think there's a lot of guys that are coming. Like, I think there's a lot of guys that are on the way up. Justin Evans has played earlier than most of those guys, partly out of necessity, partly because I think he brings an attitude that
converted D lineman as well.
We love a converted D lineman.
Wait, we do?
I do. I like converted D linemen.
Well, you said we. I thought. Did you have a turd in your pocket?
No, we just
My Pet Rock. Did you ever order those from Scholastic?
That was a little before my time.
Shane, did you get My Pet? Did you order My Pet Rock?
Nah,
I was
went out to the
the little thing that looked like it came in a carton and it had some fake straw.
I was more of the Chia Pet age.
Did you have Choose Your Own Adventure?
Yeah.
Okay.
The books.
No, Shane. Yes, the books.
I like those books.
Too many
It
Christmas.
brings back good memories.
The books
as
opposed to what?
I don't know, like playing Castle or something on Atari.
Get the phone and punch Pete up, please.
Let's get to Pete.
Pete, good morning.
What's going on?
What's up?
Pete left.
Oh,
Bye, Pete.
well, somebody's calling.
Pete might be calling back.
The phone. The phone is ringing. There's an animal in
Is he
trouble.
doing Wonder Pets right now? Is that what that is?
How do you know about Wonder Pets?
My nieces and nephew used to watch it.
I thought you didn't really like hanging around your nieces and nephews.
These are the ones in Houston when they were like little kids.
Oh.
Used to go down and visit my sister, and they would always watch
By
Wonder
the way,
Pets.
where is bro? I haven't heard any good stories lately.
I haven't seen him much lately.
Really?
Yeah. Been busy.
Ghost.
Just been busy, a lot going on.
Casper.
Yeah. Well, friendly,
I like that.
No, I think TK made a fair point that there's not a lot of there's not a lot of teams in the country that do what Nebraska fans seem to want Nebraska to do.
So
is that fair?
That's fine. But I suppose I should get off of this because it only aggravates me. When we talk about running style, right? I want them to do it like this. Do you want Nebraska to just get an I formation and just run? Can you this is what drives me nuts. Can you imagine if Nebraska just gets an I, a couple motions, a little pro formation, and they run like veer, trap, and ISO?
Yeah.
Like, is that what we want?
Not actually, no.
Do we know what we? I feel like the goddamn goalpost move.
That's the point. That's why I said yesterday. It's not even what it looks like. It's what we feel about how it looks, right? Because if Dylan goes 8 for 10 in the second half instead of 2 for 10, is anybody complaining about anything?
Boy, by the way, have you rewatched?
It's pretty bad.
Yeah,
he
was due.
He was due.
He was due. He was playing out of his gourd. I still don't think he felt well, but I'm not going to make excuses.
I actually wanted to ask about that. He didn't look like he felt very good.
He didn't.
I saw it because I was watching him after I noticed he was off because I was like, this is unusual. And there was a couple plays where he took a minute to get up off the field. And I go, is he he walked off pretty gingerly a couple times. Yeah. I think the bye week's coming at a good time for him.
Yeah, real good time.
And I don't think I'm not saying he's injured, but you get banged up obviously a little bit. He also doesn't seem like he was moving as well as he had in earlier weeks in the season. And so I'm kind of trying to put all these things together and maybe I'm overthinking this. There's a pretty good chance, but I'm trying to put all these things together over the course of the season that we've seen so far, right? What's one of the only complaints we've had about Dylan prior to Saturday?
The Platters.
The Platters.
It's an old R&B band or group. They sang the song called Float.
Okay, yeah. So he's not
Float
ripping the ball.
on.
Not ripping the ball.
Ravi here for being an anti-Platters guy.
And I've never even heard of him. Not ripping the ball, and he's underthrowing deep balls a little bit, right? Those are the only two complaints. He's completing like 75% of his passes other than that, or including those. Just didn't love the deep balls. Felt like he was floating it a little bit.
Yeah.
So I think about that, and I think about
not your speed.
I've never heard of him.
Well, all the pictures are in black and white, so
might be a little before my time.
It's a deep pull by your boy.
That is a deep pull.
Thank you.
I
got range, baby.
And so I'm thinking about those complaints we've had about Dylan. And I'm thinking about the way he's moving and the way he's throwing the ball on Saturday and the way he's kind of walking off the field. And I thought to myself, okay.
Oh, it was the floaters, not the platters.
How dare you?
I know.
It's close. Even better, though, for the analogy. The floaters.
Same genre.
See, so it's even better. But if I'm trying to put all those things together, let's just pretend for a moment they're all connected.
Fine.
Like, I think, okay, maybe he's got a little, sore rib or something would kind of explain all of it.
Okay, but can we get back to one thing real quick about Dylan? Why does he only get when he's playing well, Sack gets no love?
Yeah,
when he didn't play well, Sack was the bad guy.
Sack's an idiot, right? That's the narrative. Like, you don't get to say,
there was some pretty cool stuff going on that Nebraska just didn't execute.
Yeah.
It's not always going to be like that.
I agree.
Dude, those little flood
the play designs, I think, are really good. I think he tends to call them at appropriate and useful times. Nebraska's going to get to a point where they execute them at a higher level or more consistently. And all of a sudden, it's going to look like, oh, wow, where did that come from? Right? We saw it. And we saw it at South Carolina. They reached a point in their season where they started to execute, and the last 3-4 games of the year, they put up a ton of points.
Again, because, people will, I'm not going to go all Dion, but try to nail me to the cross later on if this doesn't go the way that they wanted to. Oh, you're defending Saddam, blah, blah. Listen, what I'm telling you is I'm staying right here in the moment. At 5-1, this is not a sad thing.
No.
Now, could it eventually? Sure. But what I'm telling you right now is you're mad at the wrong things.
Yes.
It's just.
But it's because we don't always know what we're looking at, I think.
Oh, sure. I mean, whatever.
Because, okay, no, I mean, to be fair, I think.
Yeah, but then you shouldn't have such strong takes.
That's also fair.
Right?
If you don't know what you're looking at.
Remember when the defense was bad?
That's actually never been the case, but that was the narrative.
Man.
I mean, do we want to go through the Ben Stevens stats real quick?
No. Hey, by the way.
Because we like to give credit whenever it's due.
He redid them.
Yeah, I saw.
And I'm like, good on you, because people that, stole your information.
Now they have to.
They're like, oh, shoot.
That's why I put his name on there. Ben Stevens covers the Big Ten. Big Ten Ben. You want to know what Nebraska's done that no other team in the country has done this year?
What?
They've created more than 8 turnovers.
Asian Wise making fun of me. It's actually 10.
Excuse me, more than 10 turnovers. Well, Nebraska's got
10 plus.
10 plus. Okay.
There you go.
25 teams have done that. 11 teams have 15 or more sacks. 6 teams have allowed fewer than 14 points per game. 1 team has done all of those 3 things.
Yeah.
That is the Nebraska Cornhuskers. Only 1 team in the country also has not given up a rushing touchdown all season.
I remember,
that's also your Nebraska Cornhuskers.
Remember when Joel had to talk me off the ledge after you and I?
Yeah.
The mayor?
Yeah.
And I'm like, if you guys
yeah.
don't stop saying that you and I ran it down their throat, I'm going to lose my mind.
Do you remember what I did?
They scored 3 points. They ran for 136 yards on I don't know, it was ridiculous. 40-some carries?
That was Illinois had 136 yards. I don't think Northern Iowa cracked 100.
I think they did.
I know for a fact that
I think they did.
I know for a fact their long run was 11 yards.
No, that's what I said during the show. I was like, what are we talking about? And they scored 3 points.
Yeah. No, I agree.
I'm like, oh, the blueprint.
They went for, you're right, 32 for 162.
Yeah.
Oh, no, that's receiving.
No,
rushing is 139. 139 rushing.
Shane,
close.
I'm almost a goddamn genius.
You're pretty.
It was 139. I said 136. I mean, come on, Ravi.
Yeah, you're way off. You were way off.
Yeah. Can't stand you. Let's get to my man, Pete.
Yeah, let's get to Pete real quick. He's rejoined us. Pete, what's going on, bud?
Hi, Pete.
Hey, how you doing?
Good. What's up?
Hi. Hey, it looked to me like the first time this year we changed our defensive front. We went to a 4 to 5 man defensive front.
Correct.
When you do that, it looks like you have to play man on man a lot more in the defensive backs. Do we have the personnel to play man to man, or are we mainly a zone? I seen we kind of got beat there on several plays.
Yeah, so that's a great question, Pete, and I appreciate the call. So I think Nebraska is changing on the fly. right before our very eyes, and we don't even realize it. Coop loved to play a ton of man-to-man, press bail technique, trail tech. So Butler comes in with a little bit different philosophy, a little bit different style. Couple of things. 4 and 5 man fronts don't necessarily have to dictate coverage, but they do call for how are we going to fit in the run game. On the critical 4th down, and Rutgers called a timeout.
Mm-hmm.
Nebraska's staff huddled. What 3 guys were talking to one another?
Rule, Butler, and White.
Correct, right? Because it's 4th and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Nebraska has to marry the coverage with the down and distance, but it has to – listen, I say this to Coach Queen all the time. Coach Queen is a huge man-to-man guy, loves man-to-man. And I always tell him, hey, my only qualms with that is we have to be able to fit in the run game.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's about eyes, and and he's pretty smart. So he's like, well, we can change our front. And we can put him in this, or we can. So those things are constantly always having to be discussed. If Nebraska plays with 4 hands in the dirt plus their jack, they still have 6 in coverage. You still can play. You can play man-to-man, or you can play zone. You can get in 2. 2, you have a high hole guy, a low hole guy, a waller, and flat defenders. That the math works, right? Now, on the pick where Calic Manis rolled out, go back and watch. Rutgers is in a 3-by-1, 3 receivers to the top of the screen. Nebraska stayed in 2, which means those corners are going to squat. Safety gets over the top. A lot of times you're not in love with that to a 3-by, but it was to the boundary, and it was short yardage. So Calic Manis, if you look on the sprint out before he got flushed by the bigs inside, he wanted to get rid of the ball. And I think it was Hartzog who got the pick.
Buford ended up getting the pick.
Buford. So Buford squatted right away. It was almost like he was going to jump the tunnel screen.
Yeah.
But he's already a flat defender. So then he just kind of gives ground. They already have a wall guy over there. There was no place to go with the football.
Right.
So Calic Manis panicked. You get the easy pick. That won't get any credit, but that was significant in terms of how they played it. And they brought 4.
Yeah.
5. So those kinds of things, just because you're in a 5 or 4 doesn't mean you have to play a certain coverage. You just have to be able to play a coverage where you can still fit in the run game.
That makes sense.
Right?
Yeah.
Because when you play with multiple safeties, you're short some run fits.
Sure.
That's why those guys have to be able to tackle.
What's funny about that, the interception that you bring up is
go back and watch. It was
Nebraska
so slick.
starts off outnumbered on the top of the screen, right?
Yeah.
3-2.
Yeah.
When he throws the ball, it looks like there are 5 Nebraska defenders
because they rolled down. Yeah.
Around 2 Rutgers receivers.
Yeah, nowhere to go.
And you look at it and you go, why did he even throw the ball there? And obviously he didn't really have a choice.
Go back and watch GIF on the little tunnel screen they wanted to run on the goal line, the goal line stand. The reason that pass was behind the wide receiver is he didn't want to lead him into the deuce killing that kid.
Yeah.
Watch GIF pre-snap.
Yeah.
He's +1 or he's the extra defender. He read it, so he gets over there. And the quarterback he holds it a little because he's like, oh, shoot.
Yeah.
Here's 2. He's creeping. He would have come from inside out and smoked that guy. So he tried to keep him safe.
Yeah.
And he throws it behind him. He's not that accurate. I mean, he's not that dude.
Right.
But that's pre-snap.
Yeah.
That's knowing. And that's what I say GIF allows you to do on the back end. And I saw some guy on Twitter. He's like, yeah, I'm over this. I'm over him. I'm over that guy too. And I'm like, okay. 2 weeks ago we loved Buford. But why he's playing out of position.
Yeah, he's a safety.
Right? And he's kind of a box guy.
Yeah.
But he's out on the edges.
He's on the perimeter.
So, but he's helped get Nebraska by.
Yeah.
And look at their defensive statistics. Now, pass defense could get better. But I told you with Coach White, he'd rather give that up than let you run the football.
Well, and
you're not outside of the dot. that your boy Ethan
down
threw.
the sideline, like 40-yarder.
Hey,
that was in a bucket.
I looked at Sharpie. Sharpie looked at me. Yeah, he just was like, "Hey, tip your cap."
Yeah, if you're gonna make that throw,
first of all,
more power to you.
He let that thing go so early,
yeah,
and it was way out in front of the deuce.
Yep.
And I'm like, "Hey, man, just tip your cap. You ain't expecting him to take a shot play."
No, that's an unbelievable throw.
It was an unbelievable throw.
It had to be a perfect throw to complete it.
It's an unbelievable throw.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, sometimes that stuff happens,
Yeah.
but I like the fact how like they think collectively.
Well, I like how about the pass defense, and I know it could use some improvement, but they make the quarterback make hard throws, not just the one down the sideline,
right?
But those ones to the edge, those are 40-yard throws that get you 8
he was
yards.
throwing the speed out pretty well.
Yeah.
So I get that, but you're right. I tell our guys all the time, hey, they still have to make a good throw.
Yes.
Don't panic.
Because that's legitimately like a 40-yard throw to gain 8 yards.
Don't panic.
And I turned to Avery and I go, it feels like they're baiting him for a pick six. And they almost got one on the goal line.
I know.
Like that's.
Go back and watch those two plays, the goal line stand and Buford's pick.
Coming up next, we're going to talk a little Union Omaha here on Hurrdat Sports Radio.
We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
We're halfway through the show here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla here at Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill. We are joined now by Rasheed Newo from Union Omaha. He's their goalkeeper. Rashid, what's going on?
Hey, how you doing?
Good. Good morning. Good morning.
Morning.
Rashid, you just got a few games left in the regular season for Union Omaha. You guys are at the top of the table so far once again. What do you need to do in order to get that second straight player shield?
We just have to take each game like one game at a time, you know. We can't think too far ahead and lose focus. We just put our blinds on like horses do and just look forward and make sure like we're not looking back, looking at who's coming at us. We're just looking forward, you know. That's what we just need to take on.
So it's interesting, especially after the shutout versus Spokane, and you guys are used to winning. This is a club that looks forward to postseason. People hear you say take one game at a time. It sounds kind of like coach speak or player speak. It's even more difficult when you're looking forward to the postseason, right? So how disciplined do you have to be to not just fast forward and say, well, we've been here before?
Yeah, it's hard not to like think about, what if we win this game or win that game, and this game will probably clinch this, that, but like that's just adding more pressure to us, you know, and like us just being timid going to games. So we just kind of like take it relaxed, you know, make sure like, hey, this is a game to focus on. Don't think about the next game, right? We'll think about the next game after the final whistle of the game coming ahead, you know? So like from like players' perspective, coaches' perspective, we never even talk about like the next two games. We always focus on the next game.
Rashid, what do you think the biggest difference has been between this year and last year? Obviously, you're in a position to kind of end up at the same spot with possibly bringing home that player's shield. But what are some of the differences between Union Omaha last year and Union Omaha this year?
To be honest, I don't think there's like any big difference because we kind of have the same style of play.
Yeah.
And it's more about us like being more cohesive together this year, you know, trying to be as one and not individuals on the field, like, you know, trying to be like, oh, I just want to take that credit. I just want to, you know, we all trying to this year, we all trying to do the same thing and we have the same goal, which is to win it again. And it's just more about the camaraderie that we have this year. Like, because I think there were some great players we had last year that we could use this year, but we're not missing them because of the hard work we put in and like how togetherness we are, you know.
couple of weeks ago, you guys had to spend. You're on the road a week, and it's the Jägermeister Cup in the middle of League One. And I know that's different for you guys in terms of travel. When you talk about camaraderie and chemistry, do you use times like that where you're with one another for a week to kind of build and talk about where you want to be for the long haul? I mean, that's a great bonding time if you don't get sick of one another.
That's fair. That's true. That's true. I mean, yeah, like when we're out there for a week, I mean, the first game came out quick, and with all like Jerome getting hurt, getting a red card, getting out of the game, like it kind of like make us think a lot as a group. Like someone almost, I mean, I don't mean to say it, but someone almost lost their life. One of our teammates on the field doing what he's supposed to do, for the team. So that kind of hits us really hard. Like, hey, if he's willing to put his life on the line, why aren't we all doing that? And it's something where like it happened and we all talk about it and like we all felt it, felt for him being out of the game. And like our coach talked about it when we went to the hospital to see him. His first instinct was like, sorry, coach, I let the team down. And we're all like, wait, hold on. You almost died on the field.
Yep.
Why you saw it?
Yep.
But like, that's how we all think, okay, like, this is real. Like, this is a team sport. Like, we have to feel what he's feeling, like, and come together. And that's how we did. And then we went to the next game and won.
We're talking to Rashid.
So like,
yeah.
No, go ahead.
We're just talking to Rasheed Newo, goalkeeper for Union Omaha. Rashid, do you feel like that when you're playing at home, when you're playing at Werner Park, that you get those fans kind of to be part of your team as well? Like, how big of an impact have they been able to have on the games throughout the season as kind of being that extra person on the team?
Oh, yeah, like, the fans out here is like, we love them. We love them. Like, they make the home games a lot easier for us because we hear them. And as players, when we hear them and we see them come to our games when it's cold, when it's hot, whatever it is, we try to like, play for them, make them have fun, So like, we go in these like home games like knowing, hey, it's not all about us. It's about the other guys watching us too.
Yeah, it's all rainbows and butterflies. It's all nice in August and September, but you guys do have to get through April and in March too. A lot of guys that aren't used to the 4 seasons. Like, is that a thing as the season progresses?
Oh yeah. But like the thing is, like, it's also good that we start like in the winter, so like guys kind of get used to the cold before, Because like in preseason we start in February, and in Omaha, how that is.
I mean, Rashid, you played your college ball at New York. You're used to it, right? You're used to the cold.
Oh no! The cold in Omaha is way too cold.
It's different, yeah. It's different.
It's different, especially the wind.
Rashid, we appreciate the time. Good luck the last 3 matches of the regular season, and hopefully we'll see you out with a bunch of fans, a big crowd on Saturday for that next home match.
Thank you for having me.
I appreciate it. Best of wishes.
That's Rasheed Newo, goalkeeper for Union Omaha. Man, I don't know. It's colder in Omaha than New York.
He said, no.
He didn't even hesitate.
No. He's like, yeah, don't
I don't know about all that.
Well, I mean,
it's physical. It's hard. It's cold.
Yeah,
you gotta be careful here.
3 time zones, man.
Yeah, yes, NFL style. That's what we're telling people.
I'm telling you,
it's that NFL style.
Well,
that's what we like around here.
According to you, we're just not blocking well enough, Ravi.
That's not what I said.
You're
knock
right.
it off.
I am.
Knock it off.
Well,
people already take my words and twist them to whatever they mean.
I'm not going to do that to you.
You don't got to.
Oh, how are the older guys going to take it?
I don't know.
That was not taken out of context. That's actually what I meant.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, whatever.
Sometimes I'm mean. You don't have to add to it,
Shane, I got some great one-liners. Just ask me.
I don't know if that's true.
Whatever.
Okay.
I I don't even know what I was talking about. Like if you just took just out of context clips.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm pretty sure I could do it. All right. I could do an interview with myself.
Are they better in context or?
I don't know.
Well,
it just depends, man. Are we winning?
Well,
okay.
That's a fair question.
Are you excited for Big Noon Kickoff? Can you wait? Is it palpable? It's a week and a half away.
It's fine.
If you're winning.
It's fine.
Are they winning, Shane? Who you taking?
If you're winning.
What's the look ahead line? Indiana's coming off a bye too.
They've got. I know. I haven't seen the look ahead line yet, but the ESPN predictor or whatever has it at about 75% for Indiana.
75%.
That seems high.
Man, they must be top 10 in offense and defense.
Indiana must be the greatest team of all time.
No, they're pretty good.
I don't know. Coming off a bye week and starting a road series like this isn't a bad thing.
Nah, you want to go on the road?
They play anybody good yet?
No.
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah, but listen.
Hey, I'm not complaining about wins. If I'm Indiana, I'm thrilled to death.
I'm a big dude. You can't apologize. I'm consistent. So you won't hear me talk about who they played.
Here's all I'm saying. They're doing a great job. We love Kurt Signetti here. We appreciate his ability. And Google him. He just wins. But if we're going to put them in context of how good they actually are, as opposed to whether they're having a good, they're absolutely having a good season. But if we're going to start talking about them as, okay, they're a however many point favorite against Nebraska, and they're over 50% odds to make the playoff at this point, then you do have to start talking about some of those other things.
Will they be the story of the day on that Big Noon Kickoff?
Absolutely.
It's good.
100%. You know why? Puts a little chip on Nebraska's shoulder.
Yeah. Last time that happened to James Madison and College Game Day went there.
How'd that go?
Just saying.
We'll talk to our guy, Scott Doctherman, coming up next from The Athletic. Get a little scoop on Iowa. That's DB. I'm Ravi with more Hurrdat Sports Radio coming up next.
For any of us, and Drew Aller is learning that lesson for himself. He'll throw the deep ball. Aller! Got it! Clifford! Down inside the 30, Liam Clifford. The big Zamboni dialing up a big one, but there is a flag on the play.
Away from Jeremiah Smith. They didn't take advantage of that turnover, though. Howard. Late hit, and there's the interception. Gary was talking about it. It's Castro.
Who's going to make the big play? The veteran. The uncle of the team.
That's right. Sebastian Castro had 3 interceptions last year. Here's his first one of 2024.
And
We will be back. You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
Away from Jeremiah Smith. Able to take advantage of that turnover, though. Howard. Late hit, and there's the interception. Gary was talking about it. It's Castro.
Who's going to make the big play? The veteran. The uncle of the team.
That's right. Sebastian Castro had 3 interceptions last year. Here's his first one of 2024.
Wrapping up hour number 2 here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla here live at Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill. We are joined now by Scott Doctherman from The Athletic. Scott, how are you this morning?
Not too bad. How's it going today?
Good. Doc, how you been, man? I feel like I used to always run into you somewhere by now, man. Are we going to have to wait till Iowa City on Friday?
It might be. I don't know. I'm all over the place these days. I was in Chicago last week. I'll be in Nashville here tomorrow for the Big Ten SEC Summit, and then I was in Columbus over the weekend. So I'm just I'm traveling like crazy.
Hey, before we get to the big matchup in Iowa specifically with this summit, at what point could you see some uniformity, or would you expect to see any uniformity between these two conferences?
I would expect there to be some sort of agreements or some sort of, some combination of things to happen as soon as this week when it comes to certain areas of cooperation. Among them would be scheduling. I think that there's going to try to be some sort of a agreement, to not necessarily written that you will play X, but let's play each other as often as possible and maybe try to get some games on the docket. But then one of the things I wrote about today when I talked to Ohio State athletic director Ross Bjork is, some of the MTEs for basketball is something that they feel like that they can make a lot more money on than just paying it, which is what they do now. Everybody seems to pay $100,000 to go play in the Cayman Islands over Thanksgiving. Well, nobody makes any money doing that. Now it's like, well, why not put a game together in Nashville and invite 2 Big Ten teams and 2 SEC teams to call it a classic.
Yeah.
Play on the weekend and voila. So I expect there to be some sort of agreements there, and then some of the other issues, where they can start really working together, playoff and what have you.
You think the SEC will ever add a conference game in football?
There seems to be a desire that will be the case. It's kind of been paralyzed a little bit by the schools that are hoping to get to bowl eligibility, because they know that if they add another SEC game, that really hurts their opportunity to do that. But I think one of the things that I know from talking to the Big Ten ADs and I know the SEC counterparts feel the same way is, let's reimagine the postseason. Let's reimagine everything, which is, you have to be 6-6 to go to a bowl game? I mean, that's been the standard for a long time, that you'd have a winning record or at least be 6-6. But if it means that the SEC will have a 9th league game, and if you're Kentucky or Mississippi State or another team that struggles from time to time to get to a bowl game, but you can win 5 games, hey, does that, will that get you to a bowl game? Because I think the conferences have figured out that they're bigger than the bowl system.
Yeah.
And now they have an opportunity to do that.
Scott, speaking of the conferences figuring out they might be bigger than the whole system, there's kind of, or at least being reported by Ross Dellinger, there's kind of this undercurrent to these meetings in Nashville of not just kind of an arrangement that might be agreed to between the Big Ten and the SEC, but that Disney is trying to talk about an entirely new landscape and I guess the format for the entire sport of college football, with kind of a 70-team super league. How much have you heard about that? Is that something that's even on your radar at this point?
Oh, yeah. I mean, we've written about that. That's something that's been in place for a long time. The one thing is that in order to do that, you basically surrender your autonomy as the SEC and the Big Ten, the two biggest brands in college sports. Big Ten's been in existence since 1896, the SEC since 1933. And in order to go to some sort of, outsourced college football league like that, where you have some relegation and districts or what have you, the Big Ten and SEC have to say, okay, you're in charge and we're not. I don't ever see them doing that unless this judgment, which yesterday came back, with preliminary approval, unless there's something that causes them to go to bankruptcy. I do not in any way, shape, or form anticipate them agreeing to that, because if you're the SEC and the Big Ten, why would you do that? Why would you surrender what your power to another source just to and then you've got to also consider the brands in those leagues consider themselves superior to their peers in other leagues, and instead you would actually elevate them to your level. I just don't ever see that happening unless there's bankruptcy involved.
Talking all things college football with our main man, Scott Doctherman. Doc, let's get to the matchup in the season as we sit. I think quietly, and I said this yesterday, this seems like a big game for Iowa. Not to say that Washington is playing with house money, because they clearly aren't. But it seems like the pressure is squarely on Iowa. Fact or fiction? And if so, how did we get to this point at this juncture of the season?
The pressure is clearly on Iowa if it wants to reach its goals. And right now, those goals are on life support. They would have to win out to be a college football playoff team. We can see that. Even then, that may not be enough. But by losing to Iowa State, they lost their mulligan. They lost the cartilage in the knee. It's gone. And because everybody expected them to lose to Ohio State, and they did. But the Iowa State loss now puts them in a position to where if they want to be a college football playoff team, and they brought all those people back, that they have to win out. And then when you look at Washington and the way it's playing, last year they go to the national title game, then they lose 21 out of 22 starters, their head coach. And now you look at them and they're playing really well, and they beat Michigan. And so, this is a really important game for the Hawkeyes and for the Huskies, I would say, too, but specifically to Iowa, because they haven't put together a full game yet. They played really well at certain times, and then they played, poorly or mediocrely for quite a bit too. So they need to get on the right track. This is game 6. They need to look the part, but also they're playing against an opponent that I think people are probably surprised or is playing as well as it is. So they do need to take a step forward. Otherwise, if they were to lose this game and they're 3-3, then the Sharks will be swirling here in Iowa City.
Yeah, see, that's interesting. Still a top 25 defense, and listen to Coach Parker's presser last week. He was ready statistically for you guys, for those that didn't think they were playing as good of defense. But the Shark comment has me thinking it's just like, okay, at 3-3 with the schedule talk, is that kind of where this is coming from? Assuming that Iowa kind of had this clear path, and you could potentially wake up, Sunday morning and be 3-3, or is it more of the stats that we saw recently with the AP top 25 and the margin of victory, or excuse me, the margin of defeat and consecutive? Like, what's going on that's got it to this point?
The fan base is just kind of in a surly state, and it has been for a while, primarily because of the offense. The defense has been fantastic for a long time, but I don't know. This is a fan base that sometimes doesn't. It jumps to conclusions very quickly, and it gets. I thought this weekend was a little embarrassing, frankly, when they're calling for everybody to be fired and everything, and I'm like, come on, Ohio State is clearly a tier above Iowa. It's not even close, and the game wasn't close either. Iowa's defense put forth some pretty good effort, had a couple of turnovers in the first half, but one team hopes to get to the playoff, the other team wants to win a national title. It's really that clear, and yet it's just, I don't know if it's the lack of reaching a pinnacle and feeling satisfied or happy with the outcome, or what, or getting, part of it is their last 8 games against ranked opponents. They're 0-8. They've been outscored, the average of what, I think it's like 39-10 or something like that. So it's really, that part of it is just getting blown out by really good teams. I think it's something that's hard for some people to digest.
Scott, do you think at all watching Michigan play a very similar style to what Iowa's been doing and then not be able to get to that next level, do you think that's added to the frustration for Iowa fans at all?
I guess I think what it is there is 85% of Iowa's program is in great shape, not just healthy, but great shape. I mean, you look at the way the defense is played, the way that they respond to adversity, the lack of attrition, the building of success, 3 stars and fundamentals, all that stuff is great at Iowa. But then the detriments are so obvious that those are the first things people can see, which is quarterback and passing game. And you're like, why can't you go out and get somebody that's average? Not even just good, just average. And you see that, like last year they were shut out 3 times, which they hadn't had happen in a season in, more than 50 years. And it's just, I think those are the things that people glom onto, and it's understandable. And that's what keeps them, they won 10 games last year, but they were like a fist fighter with only one arm. It's just the offense was dreadful. You couldn't get past it.
What do you expect this weekend?
I expect a really close competitive game that goes all the way to the end. I think Iowa's got a chance. It's going to be it's the first game at Kinnick for a while. I expect it to be a madhouse, and there are going to be some really quality plays, I think, by the Hawkeyes early, and I think Washington will keep coming at them. And I think this is a game that you could see going down in the last couple of minutes of the fourth quarter, one way or the other. So I would expect it to be one of the more entertaining games of the day.
Nice.
That's Scott Doerman from The Athletic. Scott, we appreciate the time as always. We'll catch up again soon.
Thanks, Doc.
All right. Thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Mitch Sherman from The Athletic coming up next.
We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
I think he's been great. Yeah, I think he's had some wow moments. I think he gets us in the right checks. I think he protects the football. You know, we had the one interception on the RPO this week. You know, that's as well coached a defense as you can see. They're physical, and the wind. You know, the wind was hard early in the game, and so I think there was some really good lessons. You know, but we knew in that game the best way to win that game was for us to get up and make them play differently, make them play a way they didn't want to play, and so you know. Dylan and the guys led us to two touchdown drives, and it was hard. It was really hard. With 3 of the 5 drives in the second half started inside the 5. It was hard to get into a rhythm. That's not an excuse. We have to get into a rhythm that way. Don't make no mistake. But I thought that was part of it. But I think Dylan's the guy that the guys on offense look to. We can continue to help him with improved run game, guys getting open, and I think he'll get better and better and better every week.
Kicking off hour number 3 here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities, KFOR in Lincoln. That's D-Beat. I'm Ravi Lulla, and we are joined now by Mitch Sherman from The Athletic. Mitch, how's it going?
Going well. How are you guys?
Good. Damon? It's been an athletic kind of morning, and it doesn't have anything to do with us two yahoos. We just talked to Doc right before to get a preview.
Always get a good Big Ten Iowa perspective.
Yeah, and you know what? He was talking about this summit, this Big Ten SEC deal. And I'm just curious, Mitch, of all the things that are on the table, whether it's sharing or the alliance or how to do the other sports, whatever, you think there comes a time when the Big Ten and the SEC, as long as they remain their respective conferences, play the same number of conference games?
Yeah. I know it's a sticking point right now, but I absolutely think that'll happen. That's the only way they're going to come to, and I don't know what Scott said on this, but in my view, that's the only way they're ever going to come to common ground and reach the kind of arrangement, agreement, whatever, coordination that just about everybody sees down the road long term, past or maybe a part of the next TV rights, multimedia rights negotiating deal. Something's going to happen between the SEC and the Big Ten to officially put them at the top. Well, they're already at the top, but make it more official. And I think for that to happen and for them to be on the same page, they have to play the same number of conference games, Mitch, whether it's 8 or 9.
So I just want to make sure I understand the situation correctly, right? So the leverage that the Big Ten would have, because they want the SEC to play the same number of conference games as them.
And they've always wanted to keep the inventory of the 9th game in-house, right?
Mm-hmm. So the leverage that the Big Ten would have would be, hey, we'll go with you to the College Football Playoff Committee and vouch for both of us to have X number of automatic qualifiers. Am I understanding that right? Where it's like, hey, we won't just advocate for ourselves to have 4. We'll advocate for you and us to have 4. And then the power kind of consolidates a little bit. Am I getting that?
I think that's to be determined at this over a longer period of time, but that's the discussion I think that they start to have, or maybe have already started to have, and now they're just getting together, the 2 commissioners and some other heavy hitters from the conferences to talk about it in person. It seems to make sense to me, but I don't know. I don't know what they're saying behind closed doors. I don't know which way the wind is necessarily blowing on that. But yeah, when it all comes out at the end in the wash, they have to, if they're going to have equality in terms of the teams that represent those conferences in a playoff, then other things are going to have to match up too. And I think playing the same number of conference games is right there at the top of the list of those non-negotiables.
Mitch, for this potential, whatever it is to keep the money, because this is kind of a deal that I look at. It's like, okay, we both need each other. We can all get rich in this deal. This is what's going on. We can share in the pie. If you're the SEC, what's the advantage to kind of that philosophy? Is it more money to split or just more money?
Isn't that kind of the same thing? more money overall, more money to split with the Big Ten. If the Big Ten's a part of it, then that look at the programs in the Big Ten and even the SEC with all of its all the weight that it
trying
throws
to figure out
around.
the incentive, because the SEC is already. Listen, the Big Ten can say they're right there, but it doesn't feel like that in terms of football, like seats at the table. It's like there's the head at the table, and then it's like you want to pull up the stool and you can sit on the corner. You can be next to me, but you're like not at the head of the table. That's still kind of how it feels to me.
I don't disagree with you, but I also think that there's an ebb and flow to that can change during a season or over a course of seasons. I mean, right now, you can look at the way things, and this is a very temporary situation, but you can look at there's going to be a change to it on Saturday. But right now, the Big Ten's got 2, 3, and 4 in the rankings, and the SEC's got one undefeated team left. And, there comes a point where those SEC teams beating up on each other and exposing all of their faults.
Texas has Oklahoma and Georgia back to back.
Yeah. So Texas is possibly going to take one too. But I know what you mean. The SEC, you're probably not going to get a lot of argument from anyone nationally outside of
they've
the
never
two
played
leagues.
nice. Like,
yeah,
I'm trying to figure out why
because they're going to make more money at it. Like, that's the only way that I can see this. That's the incentive. It has to be.
Mitch, how much of that play for money do you think is greed versus like an existential crisis? Because I do think there's teams, maybe not at the top of the SEC, but you get to, I don't know, 4, 5 and down, and people start to, I think there's probably a lot of teams, I know there is in the Big Ten, that are looking at like, okay, how are we going to continue to survive in this new era of college football with having a payroll and all this?
The Royals do it with their payroll, Mitch.
But they've also got revenue sharing. Are the SEC trying to get are they trying to get a bigger pie to revenue share? Like, is it, do you think it's greed, or do you think it's trying to secure the future of the entire conference, not just the top of the league?
Can it be both? I mean,
that would kind of be new, Mitch, because I always used to get mad at the Big Ten because they wanted Indiana and Illinois to be as good as Ohio State and Michigan, right? That was the whole 9th game, and let's keep the revenue in-house, and this is our money. It's not going anywhere else. So I got that, but I always felt like the SEC was like, hey, who's at the top is who's at the top, and everybody else can get their scraps.
I think it's a different conversation for Illinois or Indiana or Purdue than it is for Penn State and Ohio State. And, you can apply those same principles within the SEC. There are teams that are in this for greed. Alabama makes enough money. Ohio State makes enough money. Like, giving them $20 million on top of what they already receive, I don't think it's going to make that much of a difference in what's on campus at those places. At Vanderbilt, at Rutgers, at Mississippi State, it does matter. And for those teams, it's about surviving in this escalating, this climate of just like escalating resources and more money. So those teams have a totally different incentive than what the schools at the top do.
We're talking with Mitch Sherman from The Athletic. Mitch, let's pivot to Nebraska here. You brought up Rutgers in passing, so we'll kind of focus back on the Nebraska-Rutgers game here. As you watch that game play out, what are you kind of thinking real time as Nebraska gets up to the 14-0 lead and then kind of just grinds out the game in the second half? Because I saw a lot of commentary on the internet as that game's playing out. I'm curious what your thoughts were real time.
Ask me that again. Explain that again. Sorry.
What's your thoughts real time as you're watching Nebraska get out to the 14-0 lead and then really kind of grind that game out in the half in kind of an ugly fashion?
I was distracted there for just a second. Well, I mean, you have to. We've seen this in previous games. Colorado is a great example. Although a 28-0 lead is a different beast than a 14-0 lead, but they're calling the game and they're playing the game not to get style points, but they're playing to win. And on the offensive side, I think Marcus Satterfield has to be fully in touch with what his defense is, with what the special teams is, and that's failed Nebraska at times this year. But you're making decisions, making specific calls, and just treating the game in a way that you feel gives you the best chance to win without worrying so much about whether it's 21-0 or 28-0 or what you need to do to score another touchdown or to get this player into the game. It's about winning. Like, that's very much an NFL mindset. And, it can be frustrating for sure, especially when you see a situation like Saturday in Lincoln when the lead is not big enough so that it's out of reach. I mean, 14-0 in that game. You score if Jalen Lloyd makes one more guy miss on the fake punt and it's 21-0 a minute into the fourth quarter, then I think maybe we're still having this conversation, but it feels a lot different because I don't know that Rutgers has got any chance at all then to come back and have its hands on the football down 7 in the last few minutes. So there's not that you take away a lot of that drama. So the intent, I think, on the way you call the game is to create a situation where you remove that drama at the end and you don't have to worry about losing in the fourth quarter. Sometimes it works like it did against Colorado. Other times it doesn't. And that method didn't work. It worked because they won, but it didn't work the way they wanted against Rutgers.
Hey, Mitch, let me ask you something. When you're watching kind of this game unfold, and clearly this is the first time we'd seen Dylan be a freshman really in the moment. When he's playing well, we don't usually connect him with Coach Satterfield, but when he wasn't playing as well, I heard a lot of Sat needs to do this and Sat needs to do that. Why do you feel that there's a disconnect when he's playing well versus something on Saturday when he wasn't really playing that well?
It's a week by week. Like, no, I don't think there's a disconnect. I mean, Dylan is going to have his games where, look, some credit goes to the other side. And Rule brought this up on Monday. I think you heard him say it after the game on Saturday too. Like, they have good coaches too. They have a good scheme too. They have good defensive players too. This, Illinois did a nice job of throwing things at Raiola that he hadn't seen. But I think Rutgers, and it didn't even have to be things he hadn't seen. It just had to be making him uncomfortable. I think the circumstances of the game, the combination of what Marcus Satterfield was trying to do with a 14-0 lead, like he's trying to get one more touchdown. They're trying to get one more score to make that thing feel comfortable so then they can really go more conservative. And you're dealing with that. And at the same time, like, Rutgers has this plan to get him out of sorts, and I would say that Rutgers succeeded at that. So there's different competing forces against each other, but no, I don't think there's a disconnect between what Nebraska wants and what Dylan needs at all.
Mitch, we've been talking a lot this week about kind of how the fans are experiencing this offense and what it is they actually want to see, because it seems like they're never quite happy with what thing is. Is it just that they're not? Is it just that they want to see 40 points a game? Like, is it a style doesn't matter if they're running the air raid versus the option? If Nebraska's scoring 45 points a game, nobody's saying anything.
Isn't that just the nature of fans? I mean, I think it's look all over the country at fans, and
I don't know. We haven't won. I was hoping it would kind of be different.
Yeah,
I thought it maybe would be too. I mean, if Nebraska was 6-0 right now.
What did you think that they were going to be 6-0 heading to Bloomington?
No, I didn't think Nebraska was going to be 6-0 right now. But I'm saying if it was, I don't think it would be a lot different. I think you'd still be hearing it from fans about why this game looked this way or that game looked that way, or what the offensive line's doing here, or why they haven't tried this, or how come the defense got gouged in this spot. And it's like, hey, Florida State's 1-5, and Alabama just lost to Vandy. Like, you have to take into account like the big picture of college football. And I don't know that Nebraska fans, like in the moment, are all that necessarily great at that, but I think a lot of fan bases everywhere are. I mean, what must they be saying at Missouri this week, where they were a top 10 team and you just went on the road and got beat by 31? If that was Nebraska, I mean, we'd be losing our minds trying to digest
They're bad
it.
in Iowa City, and they actually win. So you're probably right.
Well, they're 4-2, or 3-2.
Let me ask you something. So along those lines, Mitch, do you think the style of college football with multiple teams that can get into the playoffs and coaches seemingly gravitating towards style points don't matter. You think the college football game comes back to the pack in terms of we don't need to be always aesthetically pleasing before fan bases do? Or do you because at some point fans will just be like, oh, everybody's doing it. You just win and move on. That may take time, but which do you think happens first?
I don't know that the fans will come back to the pack.
Don't you think teams are playing like that now, though?
Nebraska certainly is. I do think a lot of teams are playing like that. Interesting conversation that we heard from Matt Rule yesterday about the disbursement of talent and kind of what NIL has done, and
one of the greatest answers of all time.
Went into the conversation about how he didn't get to bring McCaffrey and Banks with him, and so
the Blue Mountain State
quote that one will live.
Was like GOAT status.
Brian Burns, sorry, not Banks.
It was incredible. Yeah. And we just like, oh, right on by. It's like
teams are coming back. The teams are coming back to the pack already. Yeah. And you see it on a week by week basis. Like there may be a team out there that has a few games where it doesn't look like that, but over the long haul, the teams are coming back to the pack and playing this style of college football that is, again, it's more NFL like. And I don't know. In the NFL, teams are happy with a 2-point win. Like they're happy if their team looks bad and wins the game. I think, unless I'm just not in touch with NFL fans, I don't think there's a whole lot of NFL fan bases that are too worried about scoring 40 points in a game. I mean, and in college it's just different. So I don't know. Maybe someday, yes. I mean, when you get to the next new order of college football, then maybe at that point, fans will take more of an NFL mindset. But right now, they're still not there.
Well, the new order of college football might be closer than we think with Disney getting involved. Potentially, maybe. But that's we'll see how that goes.
You think the SEC is going to tell them what to do? I don't know about that. This summit, Mitch, are you going?
No, okay. I'm not. I'm here this week, and
that's right. The Royals are going to beat the Yanks. You can't go too far. Although there's televisions everywhere.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'll be watching that on TV, not in the stadium. Although that would be great. That would be great to be there.
Aren't they look like the better team, right? All bias aside, they look like the better team.
They've played better baseball the first two games, and you have to if you're the Royals and you beat the Yankees. So yeah, I do think the Yankees. There last night. No, it was not a good baseball game that the Yankees played. I think so. Yeah, the Royals have gotten some timely hits and sure could very well be up 2-0 in this thing. So I don't know that that's going to continue in Kansas City. I don't have any kind of great hope about this. It's all just gravy at this point.
All right. So while we're off topic, would you have pitched to Carpenter with the familiarity with Clase yesterday?
Oh boy. I wasn't watching that as it happened, so I can't speak from an educated point of view. But I know, I think Clase can pitch against just about anybody.
Right. Their bullpen had been Katie bar to the door too.
Yeah, I don't know what Detroit had coming up next, and I wasn't watching that game, so I think it's easy to revisionist history that one. I probably would have pitched to him if I have that guy on the mound.
Okay, let me get back to Nebraska and Indiana. So if you fast forward to next week, and obviously big noon kickoff and the environment that surrounds that, how often will you catch yourself talking about or thinking about who Indiana has actually played versus what they are in the moment? Will you separate those two, or will they be in the frontal lobe?
I think I'm past that with Indiana. Good. I think a couple weeks into the year, even after Indiana went out to UCLA, I was looking at their schedule and saying, okay, these guys when's the other shoe going to fall? These guys are not going to keep this up, and even start playing against mediocre big teams, Big Ten teams, like they're going to get exposed. Like everybody gets exposed nowadays. I mean, Ohio State hasn't yet, but it happens, and this can't be real. But no, I think it's one of the great stories in the first half of the college football season. Might end up being one of the great stories in the entire season when you look at Indiana's schedule. Somebody's going to trip them up at some point, but I'm I'm not thinking about it in that way. Like if you can continue to take the punches, even against, I know they haven't played a murderer's row in the Big Ten, but beat Maryland, went on the road, beat Northwestern. We've seen that's not easy. So I think this team is for real, and it's going to take Nebraska's best game of the year to win that.
How often do you want to harken back to Coach Cignetti at Big Ten Media Days and say, you know what? I don't know if I saw undefeated, but he clearly believed and thought something then that we had no idea what was coming.
I just thought it was bravado at the time. I mean, I knew he had a track record and a history, and he was a good coach. But I mean, James Madison is not the Big Ten, and I just figured, look, there's going to be a big learning curve here, and there's no way you can be Indiana and go into the portal and build a roster that they were 4-8 last year. So it's going to take. I just thought it would take time, and I still think it's going to probably take time to get where he wants them to be. But they're scary. And he has proven a lot of people wrong. I go back more to what he said when he first took the job, and he was on the Fox set at the Big Ten championship game last year and said, "Hey, we expect to be here next year." And that just seemed like a joke. Like it seemed like something like, you're just trying to get attention with that? Like you're not going to be at the Big Ten championship game next year. And
he sure did.
I don't know. It might be.
And he said, "Google me." Mitch, can both of those things be true at the same time, though, that Indiana has been way better than we expected, and they've done a terrific job, and they're legitimately a good team. But when we're talking about them,
Ravi's a big strength of schedule guy, Mitch.
I'm a big, if we're talking about them in a larger context and not just about their season, but about a Big Ten championship or about being a better than 50% odds to make the playoff, if you're asking ESPN, at that point, is it fair to bring in hey, they've been great, way better than expected, but also here's what the schedule actually has been?
I think it's fair. You can, in my view, you can have it both ways. Yes, I think it's fair to give them all the credit in the world for what they've done with the schedule that they've had, and then question also if you're going to be talking about the CFP at the end of the year. Now, look at their remaining schedule. And
it's grimy.
We just Austin Meek and myself out on The Athletic today just rated the remaining schedules for Big Ten teams and picked the 5 most difficult and the 5 easiest. And Indiana came in at the bottom of the 5 easiest. So while it's not by any stretch the easiest schedule that's left for anybody in the Big Ten, they're not playing a murderer's row down the stretch. And we know that you don't have to be 11-1 to get a playoff invite. Indiana could get into that thing without making it to the Big Ten championship game. They just got to win the games at this point that they are expected to win, and then pull off the games like next Saturday. Like those that's going to make or break Indiana's. I can't even believe we're saying this, but that's going to make or break Indiana's playoff bid.
Mitch, we're up against it. Of these 4 teams, who are you going to know the most about after the weekend? Penn State, USC, Washington, or Iowa?
Iowa. You threw me a curveball because I thought you were going to Oregon, Ohio State, but
I agree. I agree with that.
I'll say Penn State and Iowa, but Iowa overall, because Washington's pretty good and better than its record, and I want to see how Iowa bounces back after last week.
That's our guy, Mitch Sherman.
Iowa's scheduled too. It's not after this game. It goes downhill in a hurry. Iowa could have a sneaky, very good season at the end, even with its current place.
Mitch, we appreciate it as always. We'll talk to you again later.
All right, thanks.
Thanks, Mitch.
More Hurrdat Sports Radio coming up next.
We will be back. will be back. We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
Oh, I was pleased that they all came out, right? I mean, Canuck, the hardest thing is when one guy won't leave and then you have to referee it. I was like, oh, just someone please walk away. But no, I was happy for Micah. He wanted to get in there. He played. He was the jumbo tight end. He caved that edge down. Micah played the way he's capable of playing, right? And so Micah can be whatever he wants to be. He's like everyone else, just has to stay focused day by day. And but he really helped us in those crucial. We went for a 4th and 1 on our own 30-yard line, right, or 35-yard line the first drive. We were 3 for 3 on 4th down when you count the fake punt. So that was not a game we were coming here to play it conservatively. And so I think him and Lindemeyer, Borkacher, those guys running the power play, leaving Tritt. So happy for Micah. Hopefully we can build on it this week.
Welcome back to Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities, KFOR in Lincoln. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla. It's time for Bet On It, brought to you by Warhorse Sportsbook, the best place in Omaha to place your sports bets. And don't forget, the entire month of October, you can go hang out there on Saturdays from 6 to 10 p.m. They're going to give away $500 in free slot play. That's at the casino in Omaha here every half hour. And then at 10:30, they're going to give away $10,000 cash money to one lucky guest. Got to be there to win. And go to warhorsecasino.com for all the details.
Breaking news.
We do have breaking news.
Dun, 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 dun.
Robert
Saleh has been
Fired.
Can the 49ers hire him real-time in season to come be their defensive coordinator again?
Well, they might. He's probably mad.
I would could be like, hey, Robert, we were pretty good with you as our defensive coordinator. Can you come back, sir?
He was not on my bingo card for the first to go.
No, although I think if you had given me this scenario of like, hey, they get out of the gate slow, like I could have seen it.
Yeah, this weird feel. I thought it was going to be Dable or
I definitely could have seen Dable
or Sirianni.
Sirianni is the one that makes the most sense.
Sirianni's the only coach that could win, and you still talk about firing him.
Yeah, it's because he's a tough hang.
And I know you were expecting the Giants to go to Seattle and win.
I was.
Right.
I'm just. I also thought there was a chance that it could be Doug Peterson.
Remember a couple weeks ago when I was telling you about that Survivor pool in Vegas, and it was down to like, I think it was. Gosh, I'm going to blow this, and numbers totally matter here.
Mm-hmm.
In the Survivor pool, after week 3, they were down to like 6,000 people after like 14 million entries.
Yeah, that were still alive.
After week 3.
Yeah. And now it's got to be,
hundreds?
Maybe 1,000 tops.
No, it's not 1,000.
Maybe.
Not a chance.
Maybe.
I'm going to have to Google. There's no way.
If I had to guess, I would guess in the high hundreds. That would be my guess.
And what
700-800.
What week are we? We're going into week 6.
Yeah, that was.
And
week
this
5.
thing ought to be. And I think last year 3 people or 4 people split the pot. They agreed to split 5. I think it was 5.
Yeah, I don't think 5 people are surviving this year.
It's not a chance.
5 people might not make it to week 10.
How many people you think had Seattle as their Survivor play?
Well, Seattle.
I'm not even going to get to the Niners.
I was at Seattle and then San Francisco was the other one that I think a lot of people had this week as their Survivor play.
You're going to stop hating on Kyler Murray.
I'm not hating on Kyler Murray.
That's what you're going to do.
Who said anything about Kyler Murray?
Don't be bringing up,
Don't be bringing up old stuff.
Black quarterbacks playing Call of Duty. White quarterbacks play it too.
I didn't say anything.
That's a lie.
Not everybody has it in their contract. That's all I'm saying.
Wow.
A lot of guys play video games. Not a lot of guys have to have a contractual obligation not to.
Oh, Ravi.
There's some pretty damning stats about Kyler's numbers after a new game drops. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Yeah, I definitely would not have bet on Saleh being the first one fired.
But although, because I thought the Jets would play better. I didn't realize Aaron Rodgers was going to stink.
I kind of thought he might.
I know. I'm on the text strand with Sauter where you go, color me shocked that a 40-year-old coming off in a Chillis is not playing
Aiden
well.
Chillis, no. Although he's kind of playing like Aiden Chillis, to be honest. Wow. They're wearing similar uniforms, too.
Coming off an Achilles, color me shocked.
Actually, I said consider me stunned.
I would, if I was Sauter, I'd have reached through the phone and strangled you.
He did not reply.
Oh. And we were trying to figure, I thought he was going to send a picture of the door being broken.
I did too.
I will not break this door. I will not.
He punched the door.
And
he punched the door.
I said, hey, everything good?
He's like, my hand hurts.
My hand hurts. Can you imagine the expletives launched on a Sunday morning?
Here's where I'm having a hard time, okay? Because I came into this season, I'm a diehard 49ers fan. I love the 49ers. I came into this season, and I'm like, objectively.
Yeah, but you're pessimistic, Pete.
That's not true.
Outside of you trumpeting Nebraska, playing in the college football playoffs,
who's been more optimistic about Nebraska than anybody?
You?
Yeah. So I'm not always pessimistic. I feel like I'm realistic. When I see things that I think are true, I believe those things. I trust my eyes. when I was watching the 49ers, I go, okay, are we counting on another McCaffrey
You
healthy
do
season?
realize
Are
the
we counting-
season now actually starts.
No, I understand that.
Because these first 4 weeks, they're giveaways.
I understand that. But the things that I thought were going to be problems for the 49ers were problems. And then they've also got other problems, like they can't keep a lead, right? They've been in the lead in, I think, all 3 of their losses. They've had double-digit leads, and they've blown it all 3 times. This is a team that is struggling in the exact ways that I thought they were going to struggle. And are you counting on Christian McCaffrey coming back anytime soon?
I just think it's hilarious that after 5 weeks, we only have 1 undefeated team.
2.
Who's the other one?
Vikings Chiefs.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Your Minnesota Vikings.
My Vikings.
Your Minnesota Vikings.
Yeah, 2 undefeated
I
teams.
might adopt him since Sam Darnold played for the 49ers for such a long time.
No.
Sam Darnold, legend.
No. You cannot listen. And Shafe and Christopherson are looking at me like, you leave my Vikings. No, you don't come over to the Vikings side. Don't.
49ers.
There's 2 things that I'm not going to let you do.
What's that?
You can't come over to the Vikings side, and you can't talk to me and be positive about the Commanders. Because not only did I say the Commanders would be the worst to first.
You did.
I told you why it wouldn't be the Bengals.
Yep.
Even though they were the easy consensus.
I didn't say Bengals.
No, I know.
Okay.
And I said why it wouldn't be the Chargers.
That's what I thought it would be.
So how about them apples?
The Chiefs are better in the regular season than I thought they'd be.
Yeah. Okay, I want to get into this bet on it deal.
How about them apples?
Because I asked Mitch something I'm curious to get your thoughts on.
Yeah.
And I'm going to leave Ohio State, Oregon out of it. Unless the outcome of that game would sway you one way or the other.
I don't think it would.
Wouldn't be surprised if either, although most people like Ohio State in this game.
If either team won, I would not be shocked. Now, if one of those teams
got blown out,
like beat the doors off the other, that might raise my eyebrows a bit.
So,
especially if it was Oregon, because Oregon hasn't been doing that to teams.
So I left it with Washington, Iowa, Penn State, USC.
Yeah. Who do I learn the most about?
Yes.
And you guys both said either Washington, or no, you said Iowa.
I think Iowa.
Or Penn State. Was that the other one?
Yeah. Well, because Penn State plays USC.
So I think for me, it's USC. Because I'm playing results, right? I'm playing the results in my head. Going back to Oregon, Ohio State. If either of those teams win, not shocked, right? If Oregon blows out Ohio State, I'd be pretty stunned. That might change my view there.
But Oregon would still be a good team like you thought.
Yes, and I still don't think it's an indictment on Ohio State. Probably just had a bad day, right? Washington, Iowa, I can see that going either way. I think those teams are pretty evenly matched. I think that nothing really surprises me there.
There's no way you could peg Iowa potentially 3-3 at this spot.
I absolutely did not. But I think I still know who they are as a football team. They lost by 1 to Iowa State. This is a team that wins and loses on incredibly small margins unless they play somebody good.
But what you don't understand about Iowa is in 5 out of 10 games that McNamara started, he's thrown for less than 100 yards.
Yeah, that's brutally bad. Brutally bad. Shockingly bad. But that doesn't change who I think about them. Like, I think of Iowa's offense as not particularly effective outside of Caleb, right? And I think of Washington.
Caleb with a K.
Yeah, not Caleb with a
KJ.
C. I think of Washington as a team that can win this game, but they're not a great team.
Didn't we say it at Big Ten Media Days that Washington may be in trouble?
Yeah, I think they've been better than I thought. But through 6 games, I think I know who they are.
Washington may actually be better than their record.
That's possible, because they probably should have won that Rutgers game. Like, that's a game Washington wins 8 times out of 10.
Yeah.
At least. Yeah. Right? So I can agree there. They might be better than I think they are, but through 6 games, I have a pretty good idea who I think they are. Right? I think this is going to be a close game. It goes one way or the other. The one result that I feel like would actually subvert what my thoughts are on the team is if USC beat Penn State. Because USC is kind of who I thought they were going to be, despite some early success. And if they go out and beat Penn State, that would surprise me. I think I can learn the most about USC.
You make that case, huh?
I think so. If you're playing the results, which I know you don't love to do.
No, that's fine. It's part of it.
Part of the exercise. Yeah. That's Bet On It, brought to you by Warhorse Sportsbook. Speaking of Penn State, we're going to talk to the play-by-play voice of the Nittany Lions, Steve Jones, coming up next.
We will be back. be back. We will be back. We will be back. Welcome to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
They show blitz. They bring blitz. Back goes Aller. Steps up long and deep. Evans is wide open. Got it at the 5. Touchdown, Penn State. Aller on 3rd and goal. Takes it back. Blitz coming. Throws. He's got Warren. Touchdown, Penn State. He slipped out and into the end zone, and the Nittany Lions put together an outstanding drive.
Wrapping up the show here on a Tuesday on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities, KFOR, and Lincoln. That's DB. I'm Ravi. Lulla. We're joined now by Steve Jones, play-by-play for Penn State. Steve, how are you this morning?
Hey, great to be back with you guys.
Hey, good to hear from you. So we were playing this game, Steve, of which team, based on the outcome, could we learn the most about? Penn State, USC, Washington, or Iowa. I left Oregon and Ohio State out of it because we think both teams are pretty good and we kind of know, short of a blowout by one or the other. Who would you take in that fearsome foursome, the team you could learn the most about given an outcome?
Penn State, because the stakes are the highest for them out of all of them. When the stakes are that high compared to everybody else, I mean, Iowa's coming off a loss. You know, Washington's lost a couple times, including the Rutgers. But I would say Penn State because they're in the thick of it. And, they've already played a game at West Virginia where they won. They've already played Illinois, which was undefeated and ranked at the time, and won. But now they're going to go out to the Coliseum and take on a very talented team in USC. And I think you're going to find out a lot more about Penn State and where they are in all this after a game like this.
Steve, does a game like this, if they go out to USC and win, kind of help the big game narrative at all for James Franklin, or does that have to be a Michigan or an Ohio State for him?
Oh, no, this is the kind of game where if you go out there and win against a talented team like this, that's a brand name like this, that's brand new in the conference, that's a big win. And that's what's important about it. I mean, was it a big win for Michigan that they beat USC when they went to the Big House? Darn right it was. Mm-hmm. When Minnesota beat USC, was that a huge win for them? They stormed the field. It must have been big. Those are things that, when you're facing a brand name like that, a coach like Lincoln Riley, a quarterback like Miller Moss, right? That's already gone out and beaten LSU, by the way. Yeah. Then I think that it's something that it would be very important, and it does a lot for this particular season, which is the most important of all.
See, what did you make of, or what do you think of Penn State's ground game? I don't know if it's recency bias, but the maybe UCLA is a little too fresh in my mind. When you look at this offense, what are they doing and how are they doing it when they look good to you?
Well, first of all, they didn't have Singleton in the game, and they had thought they were going to have him in the game. It just turned out he couldn't go that day. Singleton's a home run hitter in a league that has a lot of really good running backs. You can make an argument he's one of the top three, which means you can make an argument he's the best. His speed, his size, his ability now to catch the ball, and how important he is in the passing
Yeah, they are
game.
throwing it to him, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because he's worked his backside off to become a better receiver, and he's been able to do that. And then you put that in with Katron Allen, where now they're splitting carries during the course of a game, and they're going to end up with maybe 12 to 14 carries apiece in a game. Really takes a pressure off, plus they're different styles of runners. And that's where I think it comes into play that a guy like this makes such a difference, where Drew Aller can go play action fake to Singleton, and because he's giving a play action fake to Singleton, it's going to freeze guys because you're just not sure because he is that good.
Now, this is interesting because Aller's doing Aller things again. He's not turning it over. 9-1 touchdowns to interceptions.
Yeah.
He's thrown for, what is it? He's over 1,100 yards. But I still think the fan base is still kind of meh on him. What does he have? He doesn't turn it over. He's efficient. What more does he have to do to be thought of differently amongst the fan base?
Probably be Patrick Mahomes. I don't know. It's might as well go for the platinum standard. It's amazing that I think when you're a guy that's considered a quote 5-star guy coming out, I think everybody expects a 5-star performance every time you go out. So he's got to be throwing for 300 plus yards. He's got to be throwing for 5 touchdowns and so forth. Yet he does really well within the framework of the offense. So let's just get into something that's interesting. Penn State has 4 games where a receiver has had over 100 yards receiving. The interesting part is it's been by 4 different guys. Mm-hmm. Okay? And so when you're spreading the ball around and figuring out where the hot hand is, you're doing a good job as an offensive coordinator, and you're doing a good job as a quarterback of identifying the wall, though, on the defense. So Warren has 100 yards. Wallace has 100 yards. Clifford just had a 100-yard receiving game. Amari Evans, who's the home run hitter on the outside, he has a 100-yard receiving game. I think it's very unusual to go through 5 games and have 4 different guys have over 100 yards receiving.
Steve, speaking of Aller here for a second, he has improved in some areas pretty measurably from last year. I know one of the complaints about him last year was maybe like checked down a little too much, played it a little safe. Well, that average per attempt is ballooned from 6.8 last year to over 10 this year. His completion percentage up more than 10 percentage points. What have you seen him improve on the most from last year to this year?
Pocket awareness, his ability in the pocket in that 3 to 5 foot circle, where he's able to step up when he needs to move over a little bit when he needs to. And then if he looks around and says it's not there, he can run. And I think that's made a big difference because now you have to respect the fact that he can pull the ball down and run with it. His straight line point A to point B speed is actually very good. It's the lateral stuff that for a guy his size that would be difficult. But point A to point B when he takes off, he's had excellent judgment so far as to when to go and excellent judgment as to when to step up, climb it, and throw it. And I think that's been a big part of what we've seen so far.
Top 4 in total defense, and I'm getting inside the numbers in terms of third down stop rate and turning teams over and havoc plays. Has this defense been who you thought they were capable of being so far?
It's a lot like a baseball team. We're watching the baseball playoffs right now. The great teams usually are terrific straight up the middle, catcher, shortstop, second, and center field. Yeah. Well, Penn State's been really strong up the middle because I think the 2 defensive tackles, Zane Durant and Devon Thomas, have been outstanding. Durant, I think, is having an exceptional year. And, quarterbacks do not like to have pressure in their face, like straight at them. And because they've been good in that area, talk about winning the trenches, it's allowed Carter and Dennis Sutton to really take off on the outside because Penn State's getting that pressure up the middle. Kobe King, as the middle linebacker, has been terrific in playing the best football of his career, and he's done a great job of being the communicator that gets the front where they need to be. And Jalen Reed, as the safety, seems to know where all the chess pieces happen to be out there. Again, using his mind as well as his athletic ability to make plays. So Penn State's been really strong up the middle, which has then allowed the wings to excel. Because if you're weak up the middle, they can really concentrate on the wings, especially the ends. But when you have strength up the middle, now you have to start committing running backs, tight ends, and so forth to chipping, which takes them out of the pass pattern.
We're talking with Steve Jones, play-by-play voice of Penn State football. Steve, as you get into USC, obviously the challenges that are presented are fairly obvious in terms of quarterback Miller Moss. You got the coaching prowess of Lincoln Riley on the offensive side at the very least. Is there any unique challenges with going out there, kind of that first game on the West Coast for a conference game that you're kind of keeping an eye on for Penn State?
Well, they're going out on Thursday, and then they're going to work out at SoFi Stadium on Friday, and then they're going to play the game on Saturday. So it's just when they're leaving is really the only big change to all this. They're staying in the same hotel they stayed in for the Rose Bowl, so there are several players on this team that are used to that. They were there the last time, so that's familiar to them. But look, the challenges that USC brings, number one, their defense is playing better. There's no question. The defense is playing better. It's going to be a question whether Eric Gentry plays or not in this game because he's a pivotal defender for them. I think he's outstanding. And then you look at Woody Marks, the running back, coming off a career-high 134 yards against Minnesota. I thought he played really well in that game. And Moss has not good. He has great targets to throw to. Branch, Lane. You're going through all these guys as to what they can do. Lemon's been outstanding. Deuce Robinson. I mean, he's got great targets to throw to in that offense. The question is whether they can protect them because I thought Minnesota did a great job with their defensive ends of getting pressure off the edge. Now, I think Joyner's an excellent defensive end. Mm-hmm. I think he's terrific. But they put a lot of pressure on Moss, and he was constantly having to climb the pocket in that game to try and make plays.
Steve, let me get you out of here on this. Something or nothing about the miles in travel and going coast to coast?
Is it? It's something. I mean, it's something up to a point. I mean, look, this isn't the 1920s where they're going out by train. I think you can make too big a deal out of it.
Yeah.
And I don't think Penn State's made a big deal out of it. It's in like, hey, look, this is just normal. It's leaving a day early because it's just best for us to do it that way. And I think we can make such a big deal out of it. But for Penn State, I mean, it's going to be what, a 5 hour and 45-minute trip out. It's, you know, if they bust to Rutgers, it's 4 hours. Okay, right? And flying on the way back will be about 4:15, 4:20 because they'll have the wind behind. So I'll wave to you as we go over Omaha. And, you know, but when you're busing different places, what's the difference? I remember for basketball, we had to go to Atlantic City and bust. It took 5 hours because of traffic. Well, gee, it's going to be a half hour longer. So I have a different way of looking at it, only because I've lived it for decades, and so I don't get fazed by it at all.
That's Steve Jones, play-by-play voice for Penn State. Steve, we appreciate the time. As always, good luck this weekend.
Thanks, Steve.
Hey, guys, you're terrific. I always enjoy being with you.
Appreciate it.
That's all for today on Hurrdat Sports Radio. We will be back tomorrow. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla. It's Hurrdat Sports Radio.
See you. Have a good day. Love you.